Here we go. If I am anything, it is a consummate professional. So I do have like a little bit of my dinner with me right now. I just plated myself too much, but I'm too stubborn to either just put it back away or throw it away or whatever. So it's just gonna hang out with me for the stream. Maybe I'll nibble on it a little bit. Maybe I won't. We'll see. By the way, it's chile verde that I made yesterday. I'm very proud of it. Hey, hey, hey. Time to react to this video. Time to react to it. Came out yesterday. I'm gonna like check here. I think yesterday I said that the views were at 122, right? Today it's at 1.7k. So it's gotten like pretty good. Some pretty good. Some pretty damn good, I must say. I've been liking the comments too. I've been reading all of them. Trust. And they've all been good. They've all been positive. I'm liking the whole I am cringe, like I'm cringe and I am free, or I'm cringe and I'm proud. Someone in the comments, actually, I want to highlight this. Someone started quoting fucking Wreck-It Ralph at me, and it was like the best thing ever. If I can find this, I'm gonna highlight this because it was like transcendent. It was so funny. I wish I thought of that. Oh my god, if I can see this. We're even Oh yeah, I'm cringed and that's based. I will never be based and that's cringe. That's not cringe. There's no one I'd rather be than me. that's iconic. That's so iconic. honestly, where I need to give it another like. I need to give it another like now that I'm here, because I usually just heart them, but let me give this one. Let me give this one the like that it deserves. That's so good. That's so funny. I wish I came up with that. Oh my god. Also, I don't know, cringe merch incoming. Me and Luck were talking about that, mostly as a joke, but like, I don't know. Fucking we'll see. I think if I hit 500 subs, that means I can actually promote merch on the channel. So it's doable. It's doable. It would have to be like some shit I made myself, but you know, because but yeah, it's doable. Hey Peridot Cheese. Hey. But yeah, it's all going well. The video's going well. I'm very confident that, especially as season 2 comes out, that probably this video will hit my expectations of 10k pretty well, pretty solidly, and that's about as much as I can be, as I can expect. And if it hits that, I will be very happy, because that's basically how much basically how much I need to just hit like monetization. If I get 1,000 subs alongside that, like, it's basically a done deal. So yeah, that alone, I'd be mighty happy, and that means that I could move on to the next video that I have in mind, my How to Train Your Dragon video, like with a nice, a nice cool assurance. Just kind of go on into finishing that script finally. That script's actually like halfway done. Okay, I have water, I have chili verde, I have Kool-Aid, I have various accoutrements. Let's get started. Okay. Weird question incoming. But do you have any people in your life that like the Star Wars prequels? I know, a bit personal, but feel I've grown to trust you. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the audio with this one, I think it's improving. I think I'm starting to get the hang of it a little bit. Still has a bit of that crackly static in the back. That's mostly a hardware issue. And I need to replace a specific bit of hardware, but I cannot, like, currently right this second afford to replace it, which is why, of course, Patreon and Ko-fi, they're there. Fix my audio, donate to the Patreon, basically. fix my audio and get my fucking VTuber model back. Or no, you know, those are on the list, but those will all be achieved through Patreon and Ko-fi bucks. So yeah. Link in the panels, link in the description, yada yada yada. In my demographic, let's call it 20 to 29-year-olds, aka the people in the right age range to have grown up with the prequels, I'm gonna turn up the volume of this a little bit. Uncommon. One of the first non-animated films that I have memory of watching is Attack of the Clones on a DVD that my dad owned for some reason. That's by the way completely true. As I say, every story in my channel, every story that I tell of my own life in my channel is true. Some of them are embellished, but they all are true. This is a core memory of just watching a shitty DVD of Attack of the Clones in my family's living room with no other context of what the heck Star Wars was. My dad just liked special effects. He wasn't even what I would call like a special effects buff. He wasn't knowledgeable about it. He just kind of liked them in a dad kind of way, I guess. He didn't even like Star Wars. I'm not sure why. Oh yeah, also this is also a very accurate representation of our family's shelf. Let's go through here because I picked all of these very carefully. A few of them were recommended to me, but let's see. Oh yeah, look, I do actually have a friend that keeps on talking about Star Wars for some godforsaken fucking reason. I wonder who he can be. It's not like I name you specifically. We see a Gladiator, GoldenEye, Cinderella. I threw in Natalia as a little Easter egg. George of the Jungle, Alice in Wonderland, Journey to the Center of the Earth. So we did not have a DVD of Journey to the Center of the Earth. This one was recommended. This one was I fielded a question to the Discord, just like send me some dad movies. Send me some dad movies to just put on this shelf. I think Alan sent this one. National Treasure, we had that one. We had a Mission Impossible. I don't know which one. He loved Avatar as well. Little Rascals, Merry Melodies, Lion the Witch in the Wardrobe, the like old like BBC version, not the newfangled Disney one. Yeah. This is like actually just our shelf. This was our shelf to such an extreme extent I'm getting nostalgic about it. Let's move on. This just spawned on our family's media shelf. But despite being at ripe conversion age, I mostly shared his opinion. I also hadn't seen Star Wars for the most part, not outside of the random episodes of Clone the Narnia movie. Eventually I'm going to talk about why the BBC version of Narnia is better. No, you're never ever going to hear me say that. I don't know, Narnia is interesting, I think, but I cannot even imagine what I would have to say about it. Wars that used to show up on Cartoon Network. It wasn't until the sequels came out in my late teens to early 20s, giving me a reason to finally check out all the movies, that I sat down and watched them in release order. And I still didn't like the prequels much. And I assumed that was the majority opinion for a long while.
Star Wars The Phantom Menace was the most disappointing thing since my son.
Probably. I had one comment that obviously hadn't seen that Mr. Plinkett video before. Like, it's just like laugh out loud at hearing that line for the first time, which is good because that line is so fucking funny. I think about it all the time. Yeah. So I think I even mentioned in. Red Letter Media is incredibly funny. So my like of their Mr. Plinkett reviews is maybe a slight anomaly, especially since nowadays I truly tend to avoid overly negative reviews on purpose. I think I can still stand by this one because despite the overwhelming negativity, that's kind of that's a little bit their brand oftentimes. They also managed to be genuinely educational. I think I'd say that within this video, even that yeah, this is them shitting all over it, and that's not the type of content I like to engage in anymore. But it's also genuinely gonna teach you about film if you can actually sit through it a few times and listen. You know nothing about movies whatsoever, or how films are made or anything, in between this and I don't know, the Lord of the Rings special features, you'll be good enough for your r/film Reddit page any moment. Probably the most famous Star Wars reviews are the Mr. Plinkett prequel reviews, and edgy content therein notwithstanding, they are legitimately excellent YouTube videos. So I didn't actually, not wanting to scare the hoes, I decided not to actually show the edgier content and just do the little cut to the toilet. If you're not like prepared for the edgy content in there, that might be kind of shocking. I'm concerned I maybe set one or two people there without full knowledge of what they were getting themselves into. Okay, so the whole edgy thing with, I mean, Paradotchis, you seem to know because you're aware of the channel they're from even. So Mr. Plinkett is like a weird is like a weird old man that kidnaps women and puts them in his basement. And it's all very, very dark. And yeah, that would definitely require a trigger warning or two nowadays. I think it's like, I think it is defensible in that like he is definitely the bad guy, and for a slight spoiler warning, the main woman that he kidnaps throughout the reviews does actually get a better hand over him, does actually manage to escape and kind of defeat him. So yeah, but like it's definitely, if you're going in just expecting just a nice good old educational Star Wars review, might be kind of shocking. For a while there was a Nadine cut that someone put out where they removed all of the edgy content, but trying to look for it recently again, I couldn't find it, so it must have been taken down because it was basically just a repost of their content. I understand why it was taken down, but shame that now I don't just have an easy version to recommend to people. Multiple people have said that they can basically act as a Film 101 class. They're so informative and dense. And oh yeah, shit. When I say multiple people, I meant actually specifically Lindsay Ellis. She said that the reviews could basically act as a Film 101 class. I could not find the video that she said that in though, so I didn't want to attribute the quote without knowing for sure. But I'm like 99.9% sure that was her. I agree. With clear argumentation, Red Letter Media uses the basic principles of film to prove that these movies are just not very good. For a long while, I assumed everyone just understood that. Then, a little while after the release of The Rise of Skywalker, hearing it was hilariously bad, I decided to rewatch all the movies in a Discord call, record some reactions that have mostly been lost to time. That happened in the Great Channel Purge of January 2024, where I just cleansed it of all the old VODs and content for the sake of a rebrand. I promise not to do that again soon. We'll see. But mostly, just have fun dunking on some bad movies and chatting about film history a bit with some friends.
I don't like sand. It's coarse, rough, and irritating. And it gets everywhere.
Look, I hope you enjoyed that I was able to sneak in that clip. I was able to find an excuse to put that in there. Oh, also, R.I.P. the Cowboy Bebop music that I had to replace with Persona music here. It was a great moment with the Cowboy Bebop like rush, like super like jazz drums going over this fight. But I think this works all right. I think it's a fine replacement, but kind of disappointing for me personally. And I found myself surprised that several nerdy guys in my group were, politely, mind you, upset at how dismissive I was towards these prequels. I ran that joke by luck, the whole upset thing. Because, of course, in this context, he's Anakin choking me. That's pretty good. At least one of them, to this day, will argue with me about how they're good, actually.
It's over, Anakin.
You.
I have the high ground.
Again, this arguing was in good That's you, Luck. That's you. I make a habit of surrounding myself with those types of Star Wars fans. If you know, you know. I left the call feeling kind of curious, honestly, because they were passionate about their love of these movies, and I am, if anything, a person fascinated with.
No, look, I have the high ground. See, because I was Obi-Wan in that scene where you were choking the shit out of me, so I have the high ground.
Fandom as a concept. It helped that as I had more conversations with these friends, especially Luck, who I stream with about once a week these days, he just doesn't understand. I started.
That's such a good clip. That was such a good moment. I'm so fucking proud of that clip.
To understand his attachment to these films. I buried the lead here a little bit. I was always at least a little aware that some people liked the Star Wars prequels, but had mostly heard that it was just nostalgia blindness for something they saw as a kid, combined with an obsession for special effects and a general lack of knowledge on what actually makes a good film. And I must say, I became a bit dismissive of them. Because isn't that a bit cringe? Isn't liking a film that's been proven bad by facts and logic cringe? More data was needed. So I spoke with one of my cringe friends, and after a little while talking with Luck, I found that we were basically—
Oh yeah, if you don't know, the sound that plays over cringe is the Ace Attorney desk slam. I've gotten so much mileage out of that sound clip. I love using it. I love using it for anything, for any reason. You know, it's so versatile.
talking past each other. I wanted to figure out why. As a good little debate kid, I know that sometimes all you need to do to settle an argument is make sure your definitions are clear.
Oh yeah, I was in fact captain of my high school's debate team. Like I say, every story I say in my channel is true.
And this was our error, it turned out. I defined the prequels as those 3 movies starring the lovely Ewan McGregor. He defined them as an era within the Star Wars world. To the casual, that may be a distinction without difference, but
I mean, yeah, so yeah, luck to damn it, to support your claim there. Yeah, I mean, basically I start off calling you the cringe friend, and then by the end I essentially grant you the moral high ground. That was the whole point of this intro, basically. To grant you personally the moral high ground. But yeah, I still don't like the prequels, by the way. I still don't. But I mean, of course, the whole point of this intro is to be like, hey, maybe there's more than one possible perspective to have here.
keep in mind that even before the modern era, in which we get a new Disney Plus Star Wars show every year, there was an insane amount of supplementary material available. The aforementioned Clone Wars is one. Then there's the mini novels, and that's just official content. Fans have been speculating on the world building and writing fan fiction since the first film came out, and that only increased exponentially with the prequels and the internet. I found that the difference in between me and Luck, this lack of extra context as well as content, was quite vast. I found that, at the end of the day, when I was watching Attack of the Clones with him, we were basically seeing 2 completely different films. One, colored by online discourse over the last 20 years, and the—
I fucking love the Tails gets trolled reference here. I adore it. Which, by the way,
colored by online discourse over the last 20 years, and the other—
mine is the obvious one. Lux is the more subtle one, where you have to actually know the comics. You have to know the deep lore. You have to know the dark magic in order to understand this one. Where so there's a joke in Tails Gets Trolled where obviously it's a really shitty MS Paint comic that someone drew with their mouse, right? But the person who made it though is someone who seems like they can take a joke pretty well. They had a panel where they drew Shadow, and they drew him kind of shitty sitting down doing something with his hands to where it kind of looked like he was knitting. So it became a fandom meme that Shadow was knitting there. And then later on in a later chapter, he actually just drew Shadow knitting, where it's actually more obvious that he was actually knitting. So yeah. That's why I have Luck knitting your Shadow the Hedgehog in this scene, Luck.
Colored by just as many years spent in forums, wiki pages, and libraries, absorbing every little detail of this world and story. A
completely different version of the movie constructed through 2 decades of extended material and fandom discussion. This zoom in was for your favorite special little boy, Hayden Christensen. Look, this is, hope you appreciate me zooming in for your special favorite little boy. Of course, it's silly to say the films are bad. They are but empty vessels with which a vast, unseen mythos can be revisited time and time again. All flaws can be forgiven. To make this very clear, I turn on Phantom Menace and am immediately confused as to who the fuck the Trade Federation is. Luck knows not only who they are, he knows when they were established as well as why them being involved in this at all is significant. So I did my best to try and see if I could see what they saw. I, a filthy Star Wars casual, decided to deep dive into the extended material and fandom, and I mostly bounced right off. I mean, don't get me wrong. Clone Wars is a good show that I apparently missed out on as a kid. Obi-Wan Kenobi is baby girl. This is a great one to pause on. This is amazing to pause on. Okay, so with me bouncing off of Star Wars, basically. I mean, you know, like, I got into it a bit when the Mandalorian series came out, you know? I'll still go on AO3 every once in a while to see whatever the fuck Clone Wars stuff they got going on, and I still need to actually sit down and finish that show. But I've liked what I've seen of it. But like, it's, I think it's really just not my thing. I really have not yet found a method to like get obsessed with it in the same way that I am some other stuff. You know, like, I don't know, to the same level I am Transformers, for example. Or even Star Trek, which, by the way, that is reminding me how I probably need to get luck into Star Trek, since he seems to like the lore side of Star Wars so much, and Star Trek is like mostly lore by volume. You know, the people who make that show, like, I kind of care about the lore. I was gonna say they actually care about the lore. That might. Strange New Worlds was interesting, so maybe not. Maybe not, actually. And if fan art of him in a crop top shows on my feed, I have no choice but to reblog. But never did I feel the call to make such fan art. Never did my Clone Wars opinions get more advanced than, it's pretty good. Never was I able to watch the prequels and see anything other than the messy, well-intentioned but ultimately quite bad films I saw at the start of this journey. And it didn't matter how many times Luck tried to explain. Okay, Luck. So here's the thing with Star Trek. Star Trek basically runs on space communism rules. They're a completely post-scarcity society thanks to the replicators that they have, which allows people to infinitely create food and a lot of resources from nothing, which means that material goods, for the most part, aren't necessary within the Federation. This isn't true across the entire galaxy, of course. There are different planets with different sorts of internal structures and different problems, but across the galaxy, general peace exists, and there's no real issue with internal dissent. There were a series of revolutions in the 21st century. And, you know, different, you know, I think there was even a Third World War, some different mass protests, but it all kind of led up to, by the time we get around to the era of Star Trek, that, you know, people are well taken care of. They just take care of people as a social prerogative. There's your answer, Luck. Also, there's your proof that I know my fucking shit. The lore to me. I was so confused for a second. I thought Discord opened itself up. So, what is the Trade Federation?
How much time do you got?
I mean, General Peace, like General Grievous. Yay, gold star! Yay! Oh, also, for some reason, my audio was super fucking garbled with that Discord thing. I actually had to re-record that, so My audio in that is just me on the mic over here. It just didn't capture properly in the program I used for some fucking reason. But Lux was fine, so I don't know.
I no longer found it cringe, at least, but I did have to content myself with the idea that maybe I would never understand the fandom behind the prequels. That I couldn't steal Lux's eyeballs and watch the version of Revenge of the Sith that lived in them.
It's not a threat, that's a promise, by the way. Look.
Trust me, I've tried. I needed to remain at the sidelines.
I'll try again.
That he could enjoy something so wholeheartedly, even as I found it a bit cringe. I was cursed with a lack of understanding, all the same. Then Hazbin Hotel Season 1 came out.
The best joke I've ever made. Nothing I ever do will ever top this.
I get it. I get it.
Nothing I ever make will ever even approach this.
Yeah, I'm going all the way with this one. I was told.
Oh yeah, so my Helsona. Do you like her? I don't have a name for her, but I I really liked making her. She was fun. She was fun to make. I like that she's kind of thick. I like the shape language with her. I like her stupid gloves with the claws. I like the fire hair. It was just a bunch of elements that just made me happy. A cute little thing about her is that she kind of has like the torn away skin on her chest where you can see like her fiery heart back there. That was a cool little detail I wanted to add. I feel like that wasn't super clear. Luck, that I now see you gave me that idea, Luck. So that's the thing. But yeah, this is actually like a decently faithful representation of my little gamer corner that I have here. I mean, severely cleaned up. It doesn't have all the random bullshit lying around the desk, nor does it have my nice little speakers. But you know, I got the double monitors. I got the big old fridge-sized tower, the drawing pad. And I do actually have like some nice little things here. I have a little like Sailor Moon light up thing. But the posters are all, of course, just references. I wish I had a Fat Nuggets plush that big. That's just where my printer goes. Do I have a crush on Vox? I mean, I don't not have a crush on him. I like Vox. I like Vox enough that I did in fact scream when I heard that he was the villain for season 2 out of just like sheer happiness. Luck can attest to this. I like Vox. I like his and Alistair's stupid little toxic relationship, if that wasn't incredibly clear. But yeah, so I did have one comment. So Grell is in this video, Obi-Wan is in this video, but Scanty and knee socks are not. So I did have one comment that pointed them out, and I was very glad for that. I do love Scanty and knee socks. There was like I love them. So I love Panty and Stocking to the point that I've done fan art of both Panty and Stocking, and I own some pretty nice, decently rare figures of the two of them. I really intended to actually get the matching Scanty and knee socks figures, but just kind of never got around to it. I saw one when the first time I was in Japan, and ended up not buying it because I couldn't find a good listing of the matching one. And now I kind of regret that, because now I'm like, well, I could have just held on to it until I managed to find it. Now I'm just like, oh, I just don't have Scanty and knee socks figures. What am I going to do? Then thank God the sequel series comes out, so probably actually I will be able to get my figures of the two of them one of these days, and I will take the first opportunity to do so. I love them. I love Panty and Stocking so much. Non-zero chance I'm gonna end up doing a video about both Panty and Stocking and Kill la Kill, probably. I have a whole stack of like feminism and anime type videos that I want to do, and those two are high on the list, right alongside like Ghost in the Shell.
An intro like that has the potential of making some people a bit upset, let's say. My takes may be piping hot, but I actually don't, as a rule, try to upset people on purpose, unless your name is the Power of Luck.
That's you. I'd like to upset you on purpose.
The
You
intention of
luck.
this video is to speak across the aisle, to try and sympathize with both stans and haters, and hopefully present my points in a way that either of them could understand. This, however, is not my first rodeo. I know that usually all that does is make both sides mad at you, and that while my algorithm will appreciate the engagement, I may not. So I ask that everyone try to be respectful. Hazbin lovers, I know that intro came in a little high. I like
Look, we rage bait each other so often. I sometimes worry that other people will view it as like view it as us just being mean to each other when that's not the intention. That's never our actual intention.
this show. This video is mostly going to be in defense of you and your fandom, but I will also be criticizing the show a bit. I'll be criticizing the fandom a bit. This is all in good fun, all in the name of healthy discourse. I don't participate in being a hater of anything, as it were. But this also isn't the type of channel where I just gush about the things I like. Analysis means you gotta be harsh sometimes. Hazbin haters. I like this show, but it does not personally bother me if you don't. The tone that some of the criticism can take, however, does. And I will be elaborating on what I mean by that later. But if you took away anything from the intro, it should not be, see, she admitted the show is bad and that the fans are just blind to its flaws. Cringe! It should be, sometimes two people can see a single piece of art and get completely different things out of it, for one reason or another. What all those reasons might be, you may understand by the end of this video. But that being said, I'm not really looking to change hearts and minds here. I'm just here to talk about my own experience with Hazbin Hotel thus far. And I say thus far because it's not finished yet. It's getting like 3 more seasons, last I heard. Who knows, if this does well, I might make more of these, but keep in mind I'm never going to be a Hazbin channel. You get 1 video per season, max.
I figure if season 2 comes out and I have something interesting to talk about, or if some interesting events happen, I might make a shorter video about it. And if not, I will probably just wait until the series is actually over and do a final, like, retrospective.
But, well, in case you're a normal person and none of that fandom discourse bullshit meant anything to you, I should probably start off with an explanation of what exactly is.
Oh yeah, so that was me covering my ass. What do I think about him? I think I say in the video that he's like, he can be fun, but also he's kind of boring and underwritten. And I think that's like okay for a season 1 villain. I think they're, you know, like I've been watching like Buffy the Vampire Slayer too, for example, recently, and like that season 1 villain too is very boring and underwritten, but like sometimes for a season 1 that's okay. You know, sometimes it's like, well, you know, so long as we can get more interesting things going forward, you know, it won't matter too much. So yeah, and I mean already what we saw with like they released Lute's song already, and that was kind of interesting. If she's going to be a villain going forward, then like that'll actually be pretty neat. IMO.
Is this actually necessary? I mean, my mom watches these. This show hasn't, like, breached containment. Normies don't know what Hazbin Hotel is, but the palette has 117 million views, time of writing, so my assumption is that if you're on YouTube, you've heard of it. So, hi, Ma. This explanation is just for you. Hazbin Hotel started its life as a YouTube pilot released in 2019 that eventually got picked up by A24 and Amazon Prime. Animated by the studio Spindlehorse, it's the passion project of one Vivian Madrano, aka Vivzipop, and the story of Charlie, Princess of Hell, and her passion project. A hotel meant to rehabilitate sinners in order to get them up to heaven, not that she knows if such a thing is even possible. It's also about so much more than what can be reasonably covered in a quick little intro, Having a cast that edges on expansive, each with their own storylines, motivations, and a rather large and complex world they live in to boot. I like it. I don't think it's perfect. I think it has some serious pacing issues, for example. I also don't think it's like the downfall of Western animation and that Vivzy is a problematic hack that should delete her Twitter. I mean, she should, but
listen, if you haven't deleted your X account yet, just do so, please. For me, for me, please do so. There's nothing good I think will ever come of it here on out, and I think we all know that, and we all just need to admit that to ourselves.
Everyone should delete their Twitter. It's good for your mental health, I promise. On that note, it's a decent time to mention that I'm mostly uninterested in Vivzy Pop as a person. Outside of giving credit where it's due, I'm largely uninterested in discussing creators at all, unless it's a special case.
Look, okay, so here's the thing. You can do that on Blue Sky too. So delete your Twitter. Delete your Twitter. Oh yeah, J.K. Rowling.
It's like J.K. Rowling, where supporting them could result in demonstrable harm. But even then, I think the answer ultimately is just not giving their work attention. I'm not the first person to say that trying to prove the creator is a bad.
Once again, don't watch the new Harry Potter show. Don't be subscribed to HBO Max while the new Harry Potter show is coming out. Do not give it attention. Do not write your hot take about it. Do not go to TikTok and rant about it. Just ignore it. That's the only language these people understand.
Bad person to prove that their work is bad is pretty silly. Even if you're right, congratulations, you've made base drama content that you've decided to call a review for some reason. And most of the time, they're not right. The best they can prove is a history of some mildly problematic kinks, and that's not even mentioning how stalkery some of these investigations can get. If you ever find yourself digging through a complete stranger's Twitter history for any reason, please delete Twitter. Vivzy Pop is a complete stranger, one that I will likely never meet. She is the creator of Hazbin Hotel, and Hazbin Hotel is her baby, and with that respect, she's not irrelevant to this discussion. Animation is a collaborative medium, but this is her child we're talking about.
Oh yeah, I don't know if you can tell the music in the background is some Homestuck music. I found that I can in fact slip Homestuck music past the filters, and I'm quite happy about that. You'll be hearing a lot more Homestuck music as I'm going through it again and reliving some of these old tracks.
Vivzy Pop
These were just some that I happen to have on hand.
as she needs to be at any given time. If you disagree or want to tell me about some scandal she had that you think will change my mind, feel free to email me at lilypolly_gofuck.
I stole that joke from Hazel. I will use it again. I will use it 50 more times. I will never stop using it. It's so funny. Let's continue.
I'm gonna let you all in on a little secret. I thought the pilot was just okay. At least when it first came out. I was 19 at the time, by the way, a mere semester away from getting an associate.
Again, none of my childhood stories are false. And also, this is actually like about how I looked around age like, this is more like age 17 than 19. Like this is more like 17, 16, you know, a little bit of acne, shitty undercut. Yeah, wearing like skinny jeans and the fucking off the shoulder tops. Yeah. Basically, by the time I was 19, I had slightly better fashion sense, less acne, and better hair. Though I must say, I may do the undercut again. We'll see.
Associate's degree in illustration. And maybe because of that, I was a bit of a pretentious shitbag. Like, I was starting.
This also was actually my art while I was getting my illustration degree. This what it looked like. The one on the far left actually is a self-portrait, so that's fun. And I did my fucking gender bent Tamaki Suo and my Ryuko Matoe fan art. That one I'm still proud of, but I don't think any of this is posted anywhere anymore.
To get halfway decent at this whole art thing was developing a sense of taste, but still didn't understand well enough the gap between myself and artists that actually make money off their stuff. A gap that I still haven't quite crossed, by the way. Donate to my Patreon. Well, I didn't understand that gap. I didn't understand criticism as a skill. I didn't understand how truly inappropriate it was for someone of my, at the time, skill level to try and speak on stuff like this with any level of feigned authority. Above all that, I barely understood the concept that I basically made the thesis of my Hitalia video.
Also, I want to give the reason why I oftentimes put myself into a lot of these conversations and why I try and, like, frame my distaste with certain criticism as, like, self-reflection, and that's mostly just because I don't want to come across as too overly judgmental. Yeah. I feel like this would all have had a very different tone if I instead came in and was wagging my finger telling people, like, well, if you don't have the skill to back it up, you shouldn't be criticizing this, and yada yada yada. Instead, I kind of, I think it's much more appropriate to be like, hey, I didn't have any sort of skill at the time. Probably wasn't appropriate for me to be saying anything then. Yeah, that vibe rather. And like, well, now that I have a bit more skill and knowledge, maybe now I can say something with any level of anything, expertise, authority. I mean, I still don't have those, but you know what I mean. Experience, maybe.
That it's okay
life experience.
to take uncomplicated joy in art, even in art that you perceive as lesser or cringe. Basically, I let this imagined idea of perfectionism get in the way of my real enjoyment of this pilot because, well, it was kind of cringe. And I was at a stage in my life where that word held real weight. The art style was dangerously close to what I thought of as the furry art style, for one. And
yes, this is also, of course, one of the secret thesis statements of this is that I've increasingly begun to see preoccupation with cringe and, like, calling other people cringe and all that is, like, deeply juvenile, deeply juvenile and immature in a way that, like, reminds me a lot of when I don't know, when we used to all call things gay whenever we didn't like them or whenever we thought they were stupid. It's like, yeah, I kind of covertly draw that comparison later, but like, yeah, I've just gotten tired of it. I think we should put the word on the shelf for a bit.
my personal, as well as to a lesser extent our cultural reckoning with how fucking badly we've treated furries over the years hadn't happened yet. So that alone was enough to put a bad taste in my mouth. Furries are important to the story, just put a pin in it for now. There were things that I liked, though, things that I even remember praising. I liked the lesbians, at the time having identified as bisexual. Vaggie was a bit 2010s Tumblr in her fashion sense, identified as bisexual.
Also, that Alistair appearing there, that wasn't a an error. That was a bit of subtle foreshadowing of being like, I used to identify as bisexual, now I identify as asexual. That was subtle foreshadowing.
Vaggie was a bit 2010s Tumblr in her fashion sense, yes, but Charlie was immediately charming. She's basically a displaced Disney princess, and that's by all indications a very intentional parallel. Plus, hey, I liked Disney. I still had it in my head that working for them was a viable career path at the time, so Disney princess with a bit of a dark twist had some appeal. The very fact that the show took place in hell was also novel. I, like many queer people that grew up in religious households, get a bit of a kick out of media that uses Christian iconography or lore in subversive ways. And I feel the need to clarify this love because I think it gets misunderstood by outsiders, either straight allies who are wholly outside of the culture, or queers who are lucky enough to not have religious trauma for one reason or another. Like, I've seen more than one person claim that Vivzy and others like her are committing a homophobia by putting devil imagery all over their queer art, as if they're confirming directly that queer people will go to hell. If you believe that, I get where you're coming from. And I won't deny that there could be shades of self-hatred in this tendency, but I'm sorry, you're just wrong. The word trauma can feel overused at times, but religious trauma really is the only word for it. Imagine, if you will, being forced to go to a weird building once a week where an otherwise trusted
I'm gonna
and
let this
kind
one play
adult,
out, honestly.
as well as a gaggle of the worst peers you knew at the time, tell you literally non-stop that people that have thoughts like you do are evil and will go to hell. Imagine that times 6 if you were unlucky enough to go to a private Christian.
Make heaven hella gay too. It's all gay. It's all gay. It's all gay from top to bottom. But yeah. Though I think it's like a combination of a few things. I think, but also just I don't know, just us queers just like our devil imagery. What can I say? It's just the fucking truth.
In school, and suddenly you're dealing with that on basically every day that ends in Y. It's pretty difficult to not internalize that message on some level. And while I'm sure there's someone who's managed to fully unbrainwash themselves, couldn't be me. Your best defense mechanism then becomes reclamation, an acceptance of the premise, with the giant asterisk that so long as your weird queer friend group is there with you, there's no place you'd rather be. Plus, demons are kind of cool. And if that subversive media begins and ends with the idea, what if the demon was sympathetic? And sexy? Well, there's no harm in that, is there?
I add so many Black Butler clips and references here. It's kind of funny. I would do a Black Butler video if it wouldn't just be kind of me like spinning around Sebastian in my head real fast. I have nothing to say on it aside from ooh.
It's in this tradition, both the queer friend group and the demon but hot bits, that Hazbin Hotel lies. And that I understood as an older teen. It was maybe because I thought I got it, so to speak, that I felt more vindicated in some of my criticisms. Well, criticisms. Like I said, I was a pretentious shitbag. And that was usually expressed in me being overly harsh or just kind of mean when it came to expressing my opinions about art, whether it be a classmate's or a viral YouTube pilot.
Or to say, I do actually remember being like far too negative in my own art classes even, and I do kind of look back on it being like, dang, I just wish I was like nicer, I wish it was, if I was, I probably would have been more approachable, probably would have had more friends. I mean, like, I had friends, but just one of those things too where it's like, yeah, I think just like being overly negative is not something that's ever served anyone well, so that's if anything just what I want to grab the audience and shake them and tell them,
There's one reason I'm glad I didn't have the idea to start a YouTube channel back then. It's that version of myself is doomed to obscurity, only to be referenced in the abstract and nostalgia-ridden videos like this. I've for sure turned down the meanness since, though I can still be a bit self-conscious about it. See, I like critique. I like thinking about the things that I like, and in equal measures, I like when the flaws in the things we like tells us things about ourselves as people or art as an abstract concept. If there is any grand statement to be gleaned from this channel, I hope it is that. But good-natured critique with a philosophical goal wasn't what I was doing when I claimed that the art style was cringe and that the animation was amateurish and overly bouncy. I was being an ignorant shithead, because for the time, the Hazbin Hotel pilot's animation quality put it in the 99th percentile of animation pilots. We're pretty spoiled nowadays, mostly because VivziePop came in and changed the industry, redefining the quality expected from a pilot by your average internet goer. Because, have you seen what the Adventure Time pilot looks like?
I will actually say I don't think the Adventure Time pilot looks bad. I actually did rewatch it for the sake of grabbing this clip. There's like good cuts in there. But it does at time look like kind of rough, kind of like, they probably made it very quickly.
Can you even fathom the MS
I Rick and Morty. It's not a pilot technically. It was like a short, I think, Royland made in like college or something. It's something like that. But it was like the start of the idea basically. It's also NSFW. I don't think I recommend it. It's also like not easy to. You have to really go out of your way to find it. I had to really go out of my way to find this clip.
paint nightmare that constitutes the first Rick and Morty short? At the time, I had
Like, yeah, I think I now
so
just
didn't
have
know
the whole thing on my
how
PC,
hilariously
and I feel
stupid it
like
was.
yeah, something like that. I mean, I think there was only one of the Rick and Morty ones, but yeah, there was like it was something or other. The okay, so the Adventure Time one, that one aired on Nickelodeon, I believe. The pilot did because it was a part of their whole like green light series that they were doing for a bit. Whatever it was called. And yeah, that one ended up getting rejected by Nickelodeon but picked up by Cartoon Network. I'm sure Nickelodeon now loves that they made that decision. The yeah, again, I don't know about the yeah, that I have that on my PC. It's just there. I just know it's there now. I have that knowledge and it truly haunts me. But yeah, there's like full on like cock and balls in there, so yeah. I don't watch it. Don't watch unless you're an absolute freak. I don't recommend it.
For me, of all people, to refer to it as amateurish. I was spoiled, would continue to be spoiled, and it wasn't until I looked back that I realized it. And not just in a, it could have been worse kind of way, but in a, some of these cuts are in fact brilliant, and I guess my glasses prescription was off at the time because I didn't see it. I just saw angel dust, and the furry sensibilities behind him. I saw Alistair. Alistair was a pale imitation of all that I loved, combined with all the cringe Tumblr sensibilities that I felt too afraid to engage with for one reason or another. It is not lost on me, the irony that I hated him but loved Sebastian from Black Butler, when basically the only thing separating them is a substitution of 2000s Japanese goth fashion influences with a 2010s American emo aesthetic.
I loved searching for these magazine cuttings. It was like it was just a little delightful bit of my research that I got to enjoy. For one, let me go back. Yeah. So Fruits magazine is like it's an old an old naughty's Japanese fashion magazine. I think it's out of print now, I believe, but it's actually pretty easy to find archival versions of it. I think there's even some legend on archive.org that has like uploaded all of it. There was even an Imgur folder at one point too that had like every single issue ever basically. If you are at all interested in J fashion, you should look at those old magazines because they are really interesting and they'll give you a lot of inspiration. And you get to also kind of see a little slice of like fashion history. It's neat.
Influences with,
and this one I found on an old Tumblr, an old archival Tumblr. This too is interesting. I wish it made me wish that there were more like archival efforts with like old American fashion too. I couldn't find as many. I did stop a little early once I saw these and just decided they were good enough. But yeah, if anyone can find like a good PDF of an old lip service magazine issue, like a whole, like an entire issue, I would love that. But yeah, shout out to Sophia's Secret Spot for having those archives.
A 2010s American emo aesthetic. I mean, that was Japan. It was foreign and cool, cultured. It wasn't... Okay, we need to talk about... I'm mostly stealing from the very good ContraPoints video on the subject here, but it's an interesting concept.
Oh yeah, while I was writing this, I guess ContraPoints had her little like controversy Uh, get it? I was actually for a second there questioning whether I should like put her in the video at all or like reference her, and then I realized that the whole talk about cringe is so important. Like it's the like load bearing element to this video. I couldn't remove it, and I couldn't like hide the fact that her video was influential on the way I thought about it. So I just left it in, and yeah, eventually most of the issues with that kind of blew over. If you want to know, I think she had like a kind of interesting take on the whole Palestine situation. She's not like pro-Israel or anything, but it was kind of like it was a mildly bad take. It was not amazing, but yeah, kind of blew over. I don't know.
Yeah. There's
It did actually lead to me removing her from. So I when I was talking about my various canceled femmes, I specify femmes because of course Rebecca Sugar is non-binary. My canceled femmes there, I had considered putting her in there because putting contrapoints in there, and I ended up removing her from there just at the time from my little triad. But I was still thinking of her. There was still a previous time where she kind of got canceled that was pretty shitty. So yeah.
in-group cringe, the embarrassment you feel from seeing someone you identify with behave badly in
Me
public.
picking my battles, I suppose.
And out-group cringe, a kind of freak show-esque point-and-laugh instinct stemming from a desire to assure yourself that you are normal. You're not one of those people, anyway. It's ego preservation, basically, one that I've always at least partially suspected stems from jealousy. Or, at least it did for me. I was somewhat familiar with Vivzy Pop's work before the pilot dropped. I was a pretentious little shitbag, yes, but I knew and respected my internet animators well enough. The original upload is lost to time thanks to YouTube's ever-changing copyright standards, but Vivzy Pop's Die Young animated music video was her viral hit before Hazbin dropped, and it was what I and most other online people knew her for. It was also unapologetically furry. I may not be able to play the audio, but chances are you can see the animation here, and any furriness will be self-evident. And
yeah, there's like there's a re-upload of it. I think there's like a few re-uploads of it. It's not hard to find. With the full audio and everything, because I don't think it does the full song. Like she didn't animate over the full song. It was like a 1 minute long, 1.5 minute long thing or so. Yeah, you can go find it easy. It's good. It's real damn good.
okay, furries, I promise.
Especially for
you are not
student work.
behind
I think it
enemy
was student
lines.
work
For
anyway.
this alone, any furry that comes across me at a convention is entitled to me buying them at least one drink. But as a teen, I kind of hated furries.
By the way, I stand by it. If you are a furry, especially if you like come to me in a fursona suit and you say that you saw this video, I'll buy you a drink. I will. Like I'll actually I will hold to that. To requirements. Have seen this video, are in a fursuit. I will buy you a drink. I promise. But you do Okay. Let me I see our what, calling me out for being in the D&D server?
Furries have been the internet's favorite punching bag for a long while now.
Look, I had
and
to
that's
confirm that I
across
would
the
be there for
political and
D&D
sexual
tomorrow.
identity spectrum. I think finally people are starting
you
to
understand?
realize how messed up anti-furry hatred really is. And the older I get, the more I can recognize shades of transphobia and ableism in anti-furry hatred. I mean, wouldn't you know, the fandom has a lot of trans and autistic people in it.
Let me see. I might actually mute the server for a bit now that I've confirmed. Let me mute it for like hours. Yeah. Okay. There we go. So no more interruptions. Also, yay about project. But yeah. So I'm gonna basically just say it there. But like, yeah, as someone who went down the like furry hatred rabbit hole a bit there, and who like kind of peered into the void, especially around COVID times. Yeah, it's pretty much like undeniable. There's like a lot of transphobia and ableism that persists in those kinds of like anti-furry spaces. Um it's like really not all that subtle. Yeah. Yeah.
But our cultural reckoning with this injustice hasn't quite run its course yet. People still see it and say, cringe. I had mentioned earlier being afraid to engage with Tumblr culture for the most part, and the older I get, the more I am able to realize why exactly I wasn't able to engage with it. I grew up with getting Christianity shoved down my throat like 6 days a week, having people call me sinful like 6 days a week, and though I was able to accept myself, conclude that they were wrong, by like the freshman year of high school, I still felt this need to not engage too closely with gay culture for a long while. That was for a few reasons. For one, I had at the time believed gay culture didn't make anything worth looking at. People around me derided it, and let's be honest, taste is dictated by public opinion more than we are strictly willing to admit, so I derided it. The other reason is that I didn't want to be seen as one of them. I was comfortable with certain
Also, this is also my alternate fit that I had that I had once I graduated from off the shoulder tees, but before I actually learned how to dress myself in college. Yeah, this was a common fit. The flannel, the cuff jeans, the shirt, the shitty undercut, the Converse. This was me. This was in fact me also.
things, cutting my hair short, cuffing my jeans, getting into flannel, whatever. I was gay, and most people either knew or suspected, but I didn't want to look too gay. Because, while people suspected, it wasn't the type of thing they openly talked about, at least not to my face. And I knew deep down that if it ever came down to that, shit was over for me.
Also true. Also very true. I was so I had a girlfriend during my time in high school. And it was one of those things where, like, you know, we didn't do any PDA, you know, for the sake of not like getting caught basically, but it was one of those things where within like a few weeks pretty much everyone like kind of knew but just refused to say it. And so long as they refused to say it, we were in the clear, basically. As this, you know, a little like fucking Clinton era don't ask, don't tell kind of vibe with it all, I guess. Which is inherently terrible. But yeah, that's kind of, I think, where a lot of my attitudes came of like, well, I got it, you know, even though the closet is made of glass, so long as I'm on this side of the door, then I'm still a little bit safe.
So, I tried to separate myself from the gay sections of the internet, of the culture that I thought went too far, whatever that means. I tried to present myself as one of the good ones. And in secret, I was deeply resentful, wanting the freedom to play around with identity and expression, wanting to make art without feeling like I have to look over my shoulder. I wanted to live without self-consciousness, but I couldn't. So I called that kind of living cringe, because I lacked the imagination to understand what that kind of freedom may have been like. I saw someone else like something, wanted to like it, but couldn't bring myself to. So I called it cringe. A part of me feels cheated, you know. I feel like I missed the window of time where I could have been developing a taste for furry art, where I could have made piles of OCs and farm DeviantArt followers.
In a different lifetime, I could be a furry artist right now. drawing in 10K a month. If only I were to live in that timeline. Maybe that's the timeline that Harambe didn't die.
Or I could have dressed like a boy for a week to see if I liked it. I feel too grown, too settled now to do any of those things, but I'm not too old to recognize shades of bigotry and self-hatred in equal measure in my own distaste for furries.
Look, that's great. Look, I love that for you. That's really good.
I can recognize my own jealousy at missing out on that 2010s American emo aesthetic and appreciate the weird eclectic elements that make up. By apocrypha, I mean not canon. not the bits that everyone agrees is a part of the holy text, but the extra bits surrounding it. Fanfiction, supplementary comics, ironically, word of God, i.e., things said directly by the creator that are often subject to change upon future, more official releases. I mentioned how important Apocrypha was to the Star Wars prequels experience, and you might be expecting me to say that it was Apocrypha that got me into Hazbin Hotel based on that, but honestly, I'm someone who, as a rule, avoids Apocrypha. Outside of a crippling AO3 addiction, anyway.
You can in fact zoom in on this and see every single fic that I was reading at the time. If anyone is daring enough to actually like go in one at a time and actually like figure out what all I was reading, more power to them. I think it's clear enough that you probably could technically. Have fun with that.
I read the Hazbin comics when they came out because a friend recommended them, and then I mostly proceeded to not think about them. I never went to any live streams or other events. From the pilot release to the first episode drop on Prime, Hazbin Hotel mostly didn't exist to me, outside of it being the sister show to Hell of a Boss that would come out eventually. I'd argue that the lack of anticipation and expectations worked in my favor in the end, but we're not at that part of the story yet. Most important to this part is that for just being a single 30-minute.
Oh yeah, the Beyond Canon squared thing. I think I had one comment that actually managed to catch this and realize that it was a Homestuck reference. Shout out to that person.
YouTube pilot, Hazbin Hotel has a lot of apocryphal content, and I'm on the fence as to whether that's a neutral thing in this case or not. On one hand, it encourages fan engagement and participation. It turns canon into this living thing that can be engaged with directly, rather than a piece of art to be passively observed. On the other hand, more naive fans can get confused when inevitably canon comes in and tosses aside Apocrypha, even bits of Apocrypha that they were attached to. And yeah, wouldn't you know, those old Hazbin comics are no longer on the official website, though you can still find them on Tumblr at Hazbin Hotel Canon. Absolute legend for archiving these, by the way, but considering these are definitely not canon anymore, the name's a bit ironic. I mean, I remember how angry some fans got when the new character designs were announced, even though changing designs from pilot to air is completely standard. It's near unheard of to not do that. That's the double-edged sword of encouraging such direct fan participation.
That is the thing, I do remember that little outrage where people were nitpicking every little detail about it, like it was, I don't know, like it was usually that talk happens in like video game remakes, right? There was like talk about that when they, I don't know, changed Tifa's cup size by like from like an F to like a double D or something, whatever. But seeing it with Hazbin was very ironic. It definitely revealed a certain level of naivete in maybe certain side of the fan base. Because, yeah, that is standard practice.
I guess you now have some very invested people who may not know how to handle themselves in public, scrutinizing your every move, every possible change causing a minor outrage somewhere within your fan base. I like fanfiction, but I try.
Oh yeah, the fandom ship of Theseus thing. I think that was something that I heard Overly Sarcastic Productions talk about, like one of their videos somewhere, something about how like the whole fandom ship of Theseus thing, where it's like everyone's arguing over exactly which plank of wood is the one that means it is or is no longer the ship of Theseus. Don't remember which video it was in.
Try to not get overly attached to this kind of content. As someone who was there during the John Locke conspiracy and there again at the height of the Clans Wars, well, there is.
Oh wait, yeah. Wait, let me see.
And there again.
I shipped Sheath. I was a Sheath shipper, and proud of it. I feel like I'm peeing the mic too much. Let me turn myself down ever so slightly. I was a Sheath shipper and proud of it. I'll stand by that. But yeah, also the whole Overly Sarcastic Productions thing. Listen, if there's any reason why I do these reaction streams, it's to cover my ass. Yeah, I don't know. I rewatched that H Bomber guy plagiarism video every so often, And that one came out at a good time because it did definitely. I mean, yeah, I am someone who actually is aware of academic standards because I have spent time in academia, but yeah, I'm someone who do forget sometimes to cite every single one of her sources and who watches and like reads a lot of stuff that I synthesize a lot. So I like to come on stream here and just be as blatant and as honest as possible about all of my influences and all of the things that I was watching that, might have contributed to some of the writing here, just be honest and, for your guys' benefit, give you a nice little list of YouTubers to go and watch and enjoy. I think that's better than just, hiding it or pretending like all of this is my idea. Exactly.
At the height of the Clans Wars, well, there is such a thing as being too invested. I guess what I'm saying is, I've been burned before, and am now more likely to take into account writer intent and motivations, as well as the reality of the animation and publishing industries before taking anything as canon or even canon adjacent. This is not a bad thing. For one, good fanfiction is good, at least partially, because it takes the characters and settings and puts its own unique spin on it. It doesn't feel beholden to the source material, and therefore can make you think about the source material in new and unique ways. For two, that's a genuine media literacy skill, being able to decipher author intent in a way that goes beyond just believing whatever they literally say in interviews. No, Tolkien does not like metaphor, but yes, Lord of the Rings was inspired by his time in World War I, whether he's willing to admit it or not. John Locke was queerbaiting you, Clamp was not, and yes, basically every manga that Clamp puts out has yaoi. But I don't know, what is all that queer nonsense? Every manga that
Look, I've forced you to watch some Clamp anime recently, so so now you get to understand.
Clamp puts out has yaoi. But I don't know, what does all that queer nonsense have to do with Vivzy Pop explaining the reason behind Angel Dust's fat tits in a tweet or whatever?
Oh yeah. Also, that fan artist, I won't go back on it because that is zoomed in porn basically. So I won't go back and linger on that. But the fan artist is good. But actually, the X account that I link is completely blank now. It's completely purged. So they didn't delete their account. There's just nothing. There's just no posts there anymore. So yeah. Oops. So Torny was on the redeemability of orcs. Tolkien has gone back and forth on a lot of things, and yeah.
What the fuck am I even getting at? Okay, I do have
honestly, the whole orc thing just depends on what lore he happens to be working on for the orcs, because the lore changes between there's the orcs that appear in The Hobbit, and then there's the Uruk-hai that appear in Lord of the Rings, and those are kind of two separate species of orcs essentially that have pretty different origins. I believe the Hobbit orcs are just a species, but the Uruk-hai are manufactured. So I think presumably those ones are completely irredeemable. But as far as the other orcs, yeah, I don't know. I'm glad we all at least agree nowadays that orcs can be chill.
Point to all this drivel. A lesson maybe to fandom responsibly, lest we
racial
repeat the
stuff.
Mistakes of the past. A reminder to remind myself to get a fucking move on with the Voltron videos already. I guess this is all to say that I like fanfiction. The fact that I am invested in this show at all is kind of unusual, and that it's maybe a surprise, maybe not really, that my actual introduction to this obsession was...
Oh shit! Sorry, I fucked your husband.
We interrupt this Hazbin video to bring you a hell of a boss review done quick and dirty. It's... pretty good? Yeah. Hell of a Boss is one of those shows.
Wait. Also, if you're reading this, you're gay. And this just in, all dogs go to heaven. That's a little bit of writing I put there.
Like, pretty good.
Oh no, I fell for it.
Hell of a Boss is one of those shows that starts out really strong and promising, and then kind
Mexican
of
works are great.
falls off. It doesn't decline in quality so much as it fails to match up to the potential that the first few episodes had. Like, it starts out super funny. I know nowadays the cool thing is to decry its humor and dialogue style, say it's nothing but cursing. Haha, Vivsy Pop comedy sure is cringe. Which is so frustrating on so many levels, honestly. For one, it's not the Vivsy Pop comedy style, it's the Brandon Rogers comedy style. A very fast-paced...
Fizzaroli's great. I love Fizzaroli. I have a soft spot for Alex Brightman. I like that whole like mini plot cul-de-sac that happens in season 2 quite a bit.
Vulgar internet humor type of comedy that pays homage to the likes of Eric Andre, while clearly being deeply rooted in the YouTube funny man lineage. If it's not your style of humor, fine. Comedy is subjective. I'm never going to be mad at you for just not liking a thing. I am a bit mad at how people seem to be so upset at the vulgarity in particular, though. Like, it's giving Puritan. It's giving I'm 16 and my parents told me yesterday that swearing is immature. Listen, swearing doesn't make you cool, but moralizing swearing makes you a fucking narc. So saith Lily Polydora 2025.
I stand by it. You can't see it, but I'm saluting the screen.
I am, however, very mad at the fact that people seem to be aiming this criticism at
Ace
Vivsy
Attorney
in
music.
particular, when if you're familiar with Brandon Rogers' content, or have just been paying any amount of attention to this video, you should know that the term Vivsy Pop style of writing is incredibly flawed, because he is as, if not more, influential to the way that Helava and Hazbin characters tend to talk as Vivsy Pop. Okay, honestly, Helava review, paused. My thoughts on it aren't even that interesting. I like it fine. I still watch the new episodes that come out. And yes, I agree that the drama isn't as good as the comedy. We need to talk about Vivsy Pop, or rather y'all's weird relationship with her. I said she would be as relevant to the discussion as she needs to be. And now what she needs to be brought up, trust me. Not because I have anything insightful.
Also, because this is all about the women's, I put Flight of the Valkyries as the background track of this. I hope you enjoy that.
To say about her, and definitely not because I want to turn this into a weird drama video, but because...
Oh, and yeah, the chapter's called Folding Ideas reference because this whole section heavily apes off of his video. I don't know, oh my god. What's it called? Now I need to look it up. No, I don't want to buy YouTube Premium. Yeah, I don't know James Rolfe. Yeah. James Rolfe being the angry video game nerd. I did have to look up because I'm not. I especially don't know James Rolfe. I've never watched a angry video game nerd view in my life.
The way she's been treated on the internet really says something about us as a culture. Because Brandon Rogers is probably responsible for the hell of a comedy style. Are we just going to ignore that he plays the main character and has a writing credit for much of the series? And is more or less an internet darling. But whenever someone wants to decry it for being garbage, it's suddenly the Vivsy Pop style. And oh my god, I can't even go through the comments section of a Hazbin Hotel TikTok AMV without finding at least one shithead that hates this random woman they've literally never met for nebulous reasons. And like, let's not beat around the bush here. A huge reason behind this gap in online reception is a sexism thing, right? Like, I've seen this story play out in real time way too often, and it's always a femme at the center of it all. And I'm always baffled by how little we seem to learn each time this happens. NSFW artist Derpashon has been one of the more recent examples, but I could just as easily...
Oh yeah, this one was so funny. One, it's actually really funny how few people actually know that Derpashon is a woman. And two, yeah, it was like a whole thing on TikTok for a little while. One, I think it was like a clone account, actually, not even her that started the issue. Just someone essentially impersonating her. She had no idea, I think, any of this was happening. And then all of a sudden, like, everyone on TikTok is talking about how, like, Derpashon tried to pressure another artist into making NSFW and blah blah blah, you know, like really fucking moralizing the shit out of like drawing porn in a way that was like really baffled me for a little bit there. I was so confused. Yeah, I think recently she kind of made a bit of a recently she's like taken a step back, I think, from internet stuff. Closing the as you can see this post here, she closed her Patreon page. She won't be active for a long time. I'm not sure what spawned that. The whole little controversy happened afterwards, but yeah.
Throw in Lindsay Ellis, or maybe more relevantly, Rebecca Sugar. Nowadays, we all look back at Steven Universe as a flawed but deeply important piece of media made by a bunch of very talented people legitimately revolutionizing the industry. It's a legitimate piece of animation history and generally accepted to be pretty damn good. This was not the average take. Even just a few years ago, however, people used to have a lot to say about the writing, art style, animation, and characters, and a lot of their ire got directed right at Rebecca Sugar as the femme face of the operation. Yes, some of it was just critique of the show, but some of it was deeply uncomfortable queerphobia and misogyny from serious right-wing creeps. And some of it was deeply uncomfortable queerphobia and misogyny from...
Actually, because, okay, I don't use this angry thing too often, but I do want to just real quick appreciate the kind of starburst that makes up the eyes there. I like doing funny things with my eyeliner and my big bushy eyebrows.
And some of it was deeply uncomfortable queerphobia and misogyny from other femmes and queers, sometimes disguised as good-natured critique.
Don't know, I've gone cross-eyed.
The mechanics behind such behavior are beyond the scope of this video. I recommend Sarah Zed's video Sacrificial Trash for an actual deep dive into that phenomenon, but it needs to be acknowledged that a lot of complicated feelings are coalescing and then boiling over into some pretty nasty friendly fire. In Sugar's case, it continued to boil over until the YouTuber formerly known as Lily Orchard, another queer woman, made a truly awful analysis of the series that barely went short of calling Sugar, a Jewish person, a Nazi. The sheer backlash that video got kind of helped recenter the conversation around Steven Universe, and consequently made the conversation around Rebecca Sugar a lot less toxic in the long run. And honestly, that's one of the milder cases. Lindsay Ellis's now delisted Mask Off, a video in which she
I call it milder because from all that I've seen, very little of this actually reached Rebecca Sugar personally. I know there was issues in social media for a while of like her and her team. I said her and then I thought, should I I'll stick with they them. They and their team. I think she or they is okay. But yeah, there was a lot of issues with them and their team as far as like as far as getting fucking harassed by Twitter chuds and so on and so forth. It was kind of nasty there for a second, but I think at the very least no careers were like ruined or severely derailed or rerailed. Not in the same way that it was for like Lindsay Ellis here.
Details her own canceling, comes to her own defense, and announces her own retirement, has to be one of the most deeply uncomfortable things I have ever personally seen. I mean, it's an hour and 40 minutes of a woman breaking down.
The video is called Glasses Off. I think it is still available to patrons as well as still available on Nebula. I have a Nebula subscription. I was tempted to show a clip of it and decided against it just because I think the video just makes me so uncomfortable at the end of the day. I'm like, no, this doesn't need more exposure. Let her have some ounce of privacy. because it does get really, really personal.
Detailing some of the most horrible moments of her entire life and quitting the job she's had for over a decade. All to get some trolls, mostly other white women, to shut the fuck up. I gotta ask, are we waiting for one of these things to happen in the Vivzy Pop story? Are we waiting for her to get canceled or for some shitty YouTube expose to bring light to the horrible farce again? Like, I don't know about you, but I'm getting tired. Or maybe the right word is worried. So, early this year, due to some interesting real-life circumstances, it basically became clear to me that maybe my only shot at financial independence was succeeding at this whole YouTube thing. And, I mean, yapping about cartoons on the internet, this would basically be my dream job. So I wasn't broken up about it. But if you ever meet me in real life, you may or may not be surprised to learn that I am a very socially anxious person. An anxious person in general, honestly. I'm also someone who tends to speak her mind and who has hot takes from time to time. I'm a queer woman who, for the
Weird combo there. It's called being a black woman.
sake of paying the bills, is trying to figure out how to be a visible online figure who is at this point deeply aware that doing so is dangerous. Because, who knows? Maybe I'll say something wrong on a Twitch stream, make a post about a problematic ship that I happen to like, or even just have some rando impersonating me say something shitty, and suddenly I can't open social media anymore without some teenager with a Deku profile pic telling me that I'm worse than Hitler. Okay, I made a joke out of it, but that's genuinely terrifying to me. Like, I'm the type of person that can't order drive-through McDonald's without wondering if I said something wrong. I know for an absolute fact that I'm not someone who could handle a whole mob of people hating me. Doubly so if those are people that I am in community with. But I also don't want to post in fear. I don't want to self-censor. I don't want to hide my face or pretend to be something I'm not.
Face
Even if it's
I
tempting. I mean, Jesus Christ, Ellis, Sugar, and Vivzy are white.
I'm
What
Lily
chance do I have?
I'm Lily Polynor and I endorse insert bad thing here. Hell yeah. And I'm glad the whole sheath conversation is at least, you know, over for the most part, or else that might have No! Luck, don't tell them that, Luck. Don't tell them that, Luck. Don't tell them that. They're not supposed to know that. Oh, it's true though. Oh, it's true though. Oh, you're gonna get me in trouble. Oh, it's true though. Gotta share my Slate X Nightwing cover. Comic cover that I have. Oh, I love them though. Oh, gimme the toxic yaoi.
So, even if I don't know Vivzy Pop, I see this story. I recognize it. I even suspect I know how it's going to play out, and I feel a deep empathy. Maybe not for her, but for this version of her I've constructed in my mind.
I specify not for her because I am actually relatively confident that she will be okay, you know, regardless of how the conversation might shift or worsen even in the coming releases. She's fine. She's now an established name. I don't think she really has to worry about her career going forward. You know, the worst she really has to worry about is just some idiots on social media being idiots, you know, and I think that's not the worst thing in the world for someone like her. But yeah, it's not really so much about like her specifically. Again, that's why I specify I don't know Vivzy Pop. But like more about certain cultural patterns that are starting to worry me, especially as a prospective content creator.
A version that I see myself in. And that version of myself within that construct is basically the reason this video is getting made. It's a version of me that almost wants to jump to her defense whenever someone says she's the worst or make—
Oh, also, I didn't even point out that I wasn't wearing glasses in my face reveal portion, which are, you know, RIP. I definitely should have done that. definitely should have actually put on glasses for that. That now strikes me as an oversight. I do in fact have very, very bad eyesight though. I was wearing contacts that day. My real glasses actually don't look that different from the ones that I often put on my characters here. They're gold rims, they're really oversized. They're more square shaped though. I should get like actual prescription big ass round glasses one day for the bit.
Makes fun of the Vivzy Pop writing style or Vivzy Pop art style.
Maybe next time.
I mean,
maybe next time I have to
don't.
renew my
As a rule,
my
I'm not in
prescription.
comment sections. I don't tweet. But I mean, that's also kind of what I'm doing here right now. I don't know. I guess I'll just have to cross that cancellation bridge when I get to it. See you at the Hazbin Hotel cultural reevaluation in like 10 years, where suddenly everyone will pretend they always liked it, actually. God, I hate it here.
I'll actually stand by that. I will, in fact, see you in 10 years, where all of a sudden everyone will act as if, like, oh no, we all loved the show. It was always like a cultural mainstay, the same fucking way they did with Steven Universe. They did the same fucking thing there. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. I mark my fucking words. You can roll the clip in 10 years. It'll have aged like fine fucking wine.
Well, at least everyone agrees that Hell of a Boss is an important show. It opened the doors for a lot of modern indie projects. It redefined how good and how successful an online animated show could be while circumventing the studio system and while actually being good. As I've alluded to, I find the show post season 1 to be fine. I'm not in the camp of people that think Stolas is the devil, but I'm also not all that compelled by Stolitz as a ship, and I think some of the drama around it is kind of weakly written. Stolas is a surprisingly flat character at the end of the day, in that despite some of his actions and the way he's introduced as an obscenely wealthy socialite cheating on his wife, the show throws you reason after reason to see him as the unambiguous victim, who you are supposed to side with unambiguously. Ironically,
I will say I do not have a problem with them framing him as a victim of abuse at the end of the day. That I worry that was maybe how some people construed what I was saying there. It is that is not the problem for me if that was a plot that they had in mind from the beginning. My problem is that the second you find out about that they kind of like smooth away a lot of his flaws and a lot of his more like rougher edges for the sake of making him more I don't know, bankable, I guess, as a romantic lead. Yeah, I don't know. I think I just would have preferred it if he remained kind of morally complex. And at the end, they kind of still try to do a whole thing with his daughter, a beat that only where like she kind of rejects him at the end, a beat that only really works if he was actually still a little bit shitty. I don't know. I think they just tried way too hard to, making Stella such a bitch was just a mistake, in my opinion. It was. And, trying to frame him as a perfect victim was also not really the move, in my opinion. I mean, for one, it kind of perpetuates this idea that, like, a victim has to be a perfect victim for you to be behind them, which is so very far from the truth. I could go on about that, but let's not worry about it.
I think this is why a lot of people hate him as much as they do. They can see the flaws, recognize the way the writing is kind of manipulating your feelings on a character that's introduced as being pretty morally dubious, and then internalize that as Stolas being more manipulative and sinister than he really is, even at his worst pilot self. Kind of like what happened with Sakura in Naruto. Audiences recognized the sexist writing, and then rather than calling out Kishimoto for sexism, they directed their ire at the fictional Sakura, calling her a hateful little pick-me bitch. This is a weird phenomenon, honestly.
I will write that essay one day, but I mean, like, I like people all the time, will say, even I'll say, like, haha, hate this character, hate this bitch, whatever. That's not necessarily what I'm talking about. If you were there and understood the tone that some of that like anti-Sakura hatred really took, I think you'd get really the difference in scale that I'm talking about here. I'm talking about like a hatred of a fictional character that borders on the parasocial, you know, that level. And that's what I think is quite weird in my opinion.
That deserves its own essay. The ways that fans will hate a specific character with a level of passion usually reserved
Glad
for
you know
real
I'm
fan
talking about
creators,
luck.
usually due to a writing flaw. But rather than discussing it like a writing flaw and making healthy criticism, perhaps lacking the words or know-how to do so, they instead take to posting about this character as if they're a hateful ex, seemingly forgetting that
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
just the emotional ways that people react to media sometimes are interesting.
But yeah, I don't know, the whole like hatred. I'll see it sometimes, you know, I mean, to bring up Harry Potter again, I see it actually a lot in Harry Potter fan fiction, where like you'll get a lot of character bashing in Harry Potter fan fiction, where people will draw lines along characters that they like and that they don't like, and whenever they like a character, perfect little sweet little baby angel. Whenever they hate a character, literally the worst. That's how you get Draco in leather pants and Ron the Death Eater as tropes. Go have fun on those TV tropes page. Go have fun reading through those, because those are interesting. But yeah, it's it all goes back to Harry Potter, doesn't it? It always fucking does.
I digress. If this ship was just a smaller part of a larger show, it wouldn't be a big deal. But them properly getting together is the entire plot of Season 2, basically, which leads to a Season 2 that doesn't quite feel like the sum of its parts. Because all this great animation, amazing musical numbers, and pretty decent character development is being held together by a plot that's just kinda meh. But all those previous things were enough to get me firmly on board.
Luck, do you hear the Hitalia music? Do you hear the Hitalia music,
ride or
Luck?
die for Hell of a Boss. Again, I watch every new episode as soon as it comes out, and I will likely continue to do so. I mean, it still is funny. It still looks really good.
Yeah, it's probably pretty quiet. I can turn up the volume of the video a little bit. Turn up a little bit. Probably better to not, honestly.
Still has great songs.
Your call.
So, when Season 1 of Hazbin Hotel was dropped on me like a thief in the night, I was really excited. I mean, I saw the potential of Hell of a Boss, and saw this other project that had more funding, like an actual studio backing it this time, and it had the benefit of being the second Spindle Horse project, i.e., it could be better, because that whole learning from your mistakes thing the kids are talking about. Well, I mean, let's get into it.
I will say, so I'm vague about it. So my opinion basically is that I think Hazbin Hotel is better, is a better product than Hell of a Boss generally. I mean, weird way to put it, I guess. It's better. It's a bit more cohesive. Feels like they kind of went in there with a specific vision and they were able to execute on it pretty well, but it also does in fact repeat a lot of the same mistakes. Yeah. We'll see if in season 2.
Thanks to all my new subscribers, most of which are coming from the Hitalia video.
Oh, this
that
is
video did
schmoopy
better
bullshit.
than I had ever hoped, and I'm absolutely blown.
Oh yeah, it was 3.6 when I was editing this. It's now like 5.7. Fuck.
Away by how positive the response has been. I've read every comment, and if I didn't reply to every comment, that's because I'm shy. The current goal is a monetized channel, so as usual, best ways to help are to subscribe so we can get to 1K subs and comment to boost the video in the algorithm. Also, I guess hyping is a thing now. I don't really know how that works, but
I don't know. I still don't know how hyping works.
Bestest ways to help include checking out my Patreon, where I have some special perks available, like a private Discord channel on my public Discord server, where you can bug me about getting back to work already, and my Ko-fi, where I do art commissions. I do basically all the art for my own.
Oh yes, I did get to enjoy my little like, oh shit, seeing my art before versus seeing it now. Very, very fun. Yeah, I don't know what hyping word is. It even a thing that they're still doing, or did they already take away the feature? I don't know. Like, I don't YouTube. I don't understand YouTube. Being able to see my art now, yay! It's fun. Also, look, now you have enough context for that Digimon thing that I drew. A thing that I drew on request, so even I don't really know what this character is. I just made the art because I thought it was because someone paid me to, honestly. Yeah. It's fun. My cyberpunk bumblebee and my edgy D&D character.
Own channel unless stated otherwise. So if this art interests you, contact me and a print quality original can be yours. Now, back to the show. I teased this video originally in my weird Hitalia analysis as a sort of, if we get to 1K subs, I'll make a video about the thing you like. But obviously we're not there yet, and here this video is. This is mostly because the Season 2 release date got dropped. I realized I still had a lot to say that make it tossed out upon that release, and I found myself just needing to write this as a result. But
I will in fact be
somehow
in the
this
Discord
essay
watching
has been
the first
actually
episode the
very
second that
difficult to
comes
write.
out.
Like, it's substantially longer than my previous 2 essays for one, and I've also found myself agonizing over it way more. I've been sitting with this script for basically all of August, and even a little bit of July and September, trying to balance the review with the deep analysis with the more
And then the
personal
video didn't come out till
storytelling.
October.
Been debating with myself if I even want to
R.I.P.
release something, so for
We'll see. I have a goal of getting one more video out by December. Let's see if I can manage that. I seem to never be able to make any deadline except for myself, but I'm glad I at least managed to get this one out before Season 2.
lack of a better word,
That one I
personal.
managed.
And then reminding myself that I'm kind of in too deep to start on something else. But while the personal stuff is maybe emotionally difficult, it's easy enough to actually put to page. The review. This review I've had to mull over for a long while, and that's after having seen the show like 5 times at this point, if I'm being conservative. Fun fact, one of those times was in Japanese, during a summer abroad in Hiroshima.
私はチャーリー歌が好きお互いを知れたらきっと最高
If you've ever been to a Japanese class, you would know that there's no shortage of theater kids who
This is another true story, by the way, incoming. So yeah, please enjoy some secondhand embarrassment.
probably made anime their whole personality for
Not
at least
cringe,
1
secondhand
year in high
embarrassment.
school,
Two
i.e.
different
Hazbin
things.
Hotel's exact target demographic. It was fun. Easy enough to understand if you're an intermediate speaker wanting a bit of listening practice. Though I'm going to be real, we had a moment of clarity when one of the local students came into the room. We slammed that laptop shut so fast, I'm shocked we didn't break it. Because, as much as I've been
The only part of that story that's not true is that it wasn't a laptop, it was my iPad. that was the only bit that wasn't true.
railing against the concept of cringe here, there is something about Hazbin Hotel that is inherently embarrassing, yes? You would have to know someone pretty well to recommend the show.
Also, fun fact, this track that's playing over here, hopefully you can hear this one at least. It's Very Big Circus. It's Ace Attorney. Because the actual clown song, usually, that one I think is caught up in copyright. I think one of you guys had said that you'd put it in a video and it had gotten claimed, which is dumb. But so this is my like silly clown music that I have instead of that.
In good faith.
Basically,
It's
if this track is playing, it's me telling me that I'm a fucking clown.
Disclaimer. I've watched several friends of mine in real time bounce right off this show for one reason or another. Even friends that I know are into other weirdo media, like being really into anime, for example. It's also a show in which I have to metaphorically look over my shoulder before saying that I love it in certain.
Oh yeah, also, pretty much whenever I get a friend into it and they aren't into it, it's usually one of two things. It's usually either, like, 1, they aren't into musicals, or 2, they see, like, angel dust and some of the other furry shit and just don't like it, just think it's weird. So, there.
Spaces in a way that I typically don't
Gosh.
for anime. 1, because it is weird, right? It's a vulgar, furry-adjacent show that, let's be honest, probably needs a more robust normie filter than what's already in place. 2, because the discourse around it has gotten so weird, right? Best case scenario, they think you're just someone with no taste. I mean, how dare they say something so true? Worst case scenario, I'm standing there having to explain that I'm not an abuse apologist or something equally ridiculous.
Oh yeah, how dare you say something so true? That one I think was from ContraPoints. That was a ContraPoints joke. So as far as the abuse apologist goes, so I funny thing that wasn't something that I experienced with Hazbin. More often when I show someone the show, they'll have no fucking clue what it is. It was, however, something that I did experience when talking with someone about Hunter x Hunter. We're the same friend that did not get into Hazbin. I told him that I was that like Hisoka was one of my favorite characters in Hunter x Hunter, and he, no joke, with a deadpan expression, I'm still not sure if he was kidding or not, tells me, "You mean the pedophile?" I like had no response to that. I had no response to that. I'm not sure if he like thought less of me after that. But anyway.
And I got into it a bit with the Hitalia video. This idea that sometimes, as a fan of something, you have to just deal with the fact that some people will apply
I was caught
the
lacking.
worst possible interpretations of said thing to you directly as a person, just by association, and how that kind of sucks. It's also important, however, to have nuanced conversations about the media you watch, to acknowledge its problematic elements, and then allow yourself to still like the media, firm in your belief that these elements aren't an indictment on your character. No matter what some people might say or think. Because, and I believe this firmly, put this on the list of explicit channel goals, I want you, yes you, to be able to think about the things you watch and to form complex opinions of those things separate from whatever content creators you happen to watch. Even me. It's why I make these reviews so personal. It's why, in this case, I will avoid saying directly that you should watch Hazbin Hotel before continuing, even if it would make the video easier to understand. I'm just saying. Because, unless you share my exact life experiences and tastes, both having enough religious trauma and emo leanings to think that Black Butler is the best manga ever made, as well as—
This is an actual, this is actual video of my shelf, by the way. Enjoy this.
generally preferring interesting
I
media
own these
experiences over
figures
ones that
and
are
that
strictly
crystal ball.
good or bad, I can't guarantee that you'll love this.
My little Twisted Wonderland corner. Yes, I'm looking forward to the Twisted Wonderland anime. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Barely guarantee that you'll like this. I mean, the thing isn't even over yet. It's not even a complete story. And frankly, season 1, as much as I love it, is kind of a mess. It took what, 25 pages before I got to the season 1 review proper? Damn, that's like a new record. And it's that way from basically the very beginning. So, the pilot. The story of Charlie embarrassing herself on live TV through song, and Alistair joining as the hotelier mostly to clown on her because he thought it would be funny. Angel Dust is also there. Season 1 starts off with Alistair already as the hotelier, giving us a quick abridged version of the character introductions within the first few minutes. That's a choice, for sure. Okay, so when Amazon Prime picked up Hazbin Hotel, this pilot with millions upon millions of views on YouTube, they, in their infinite wisdom, decided to only fund them for 8 half-hour episodes, less than what an average season of anime might get.
Oh yeah, you can barely see it, but my Vaxeldan profile pic on my Amazon account. Hope you appreciate that.
And to expand their episode real estate a bit, the team decided to basically skip the introduction and go forward. Fingers crossed, hoping that anyone who watches will have either seen the pilot already or will have a friend savvy enough to instruct them to do so. This has the unfortunate side effect of making the show proper seem kind of incomplete. But I understand the decision, and I struggle to imagine a version of the story told in even fewer episodes than what we already had. Because, as is, there are some pretty blatant pacing issues. Like, That's the one criticism that I think everyone who watches the show can agree on. They just differ as to whose fault that is. I hope from my framing of the problem alone, it's clear whose fault I think it is.
I'm kind of letting this part of the
Crime
review
is
just play
dropping
out because I have
hundreds of
nothing really
millions
to
of
say. I have
dollars
nothing
on
really
the
to
most
add. I think I just
expensive
got it in
Silmarillion
one.
adaptation that no one wanted and can't be bothered to.
You'll never catch me watching Rings of Power ever. Ever. You'll never catch me watching that.
Give this highly anticipated indie project the bare industry standard. That being said, I don't think
Which, like, that's me comparing it to how usually a season of anime will be about 13 episodes. And yeah, that they get 8 is like a bit of a slap in the face, in my opinion. It's pathetic. They're not the only ones either. There seems to be a lot of like Western studios, or when they fund animation, they're just very comfortable with just like giving them as few episodes as physically possible.
Spindlehorse is blameless in this, and I understand why some might lay the blame more firmly at their feet, because working within constraints is a thing you have to do as a storyteller sometimes, and if that means paring down your large story for the sake of fitting in a shorter episode count, then so be it. It could be viewed as a violation of the old adage, kill your darlings. This idea in art that your personal attachment to a piece or character comes second to the quality of the piece. And if you, I don't know, have this super complex story about a hotel in hell that you've been working on since high school, and are as a result very attached to every little detail and absolutely can't part with more than the bare necessary because this is your
I love pulling out Vivzi's old high school drawing of Alistair. It's my favorite thing. It's my favorite thing in the world. I love this drawing. I want to study it. I want to write a thesis statement on this drawing.
or baby, and this may be your only shot at bringing it into reality. Okay, the plot of season 1. Seriously, watch it. This will be confusing otherwise, and go. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, and also angels were there, and then he made Adam and Lilith, but Lilith was a girl boss who didn't like Adam, so she left and shacked up with Lucifer. They had a child together, and then gave Eve, who was also made at some point, the apple, unintentionally dooming mankind and causing the creation of hell, heaven in order to prevent a rebellion. Not overpopulation.
This whole 2x speed thing, like 2x speed plot explanation was I hope you appreciate how much work actually went into editing that. Getting all those clips just perfect. Was way more work than I thought it would be. It was way more work than I thought it would be. So appreciate the effort. I appreciate just how it's still like how you can still understand what I'm saying, but I think it helps that when I actually recorded for it, I actually took care to speak pretty slowly and pretty clearly, so it comes out, it evens out in the end.
Unless the characters say overpopulation. It's kind of unclear. Go down and do exorcisms, culling the population once a year. Lilith and Lucifer, who got a divorce at one point, had a daughter, Charlie, who makes the Happy Hotel renamed the Hazbin Hotel by her hotelier, Alistair. Vivzi's a very special boy, her OC Do Not Steal, who is scheming something. Also, the damned can make contracts with each other and own each other's souls, and Alistair both has many contracts and is contracted with some mysterious figure, but that's not important now, because an extermination has just happened, and Adam, leader of the Exorcists, who turns out is a huge prick. And a touch underwritten, if I'm being honest. A very season 1 ass villain. Decided to speed up the next culling to happen in 6 months rather than in a year because an angel was killed and they didn't think that they could kill angels before, and it turns out the person who killed the angel was just some lady that showed up in the background of the pilot at one point, and I didn't realize she was even in the pilot until I rewatched it after having seen season 1. And also, Angel Dust is there, and Lucifer is there again, and Alistair has a saucy little rivalry with him, and this TV head guy named Vox who was also there in the pilot, but I didn't notice until I rewatched it, and a lot is going on here, for sure. Like, you have a plot about as dense as Kingdom Hearts, and while that at least has the benefit of being a story being told over 300 hours of accumulated gameplay,
I will stand by that Kingdom Hearts isn't as complicated as people make it out to be. It really isn't. It's what it is it's just a long story. Yeah. Like if you like try and tell it to someone out of context, to try and sit them down and explain the plot to them over the course of like, I don't know, 30 drunk minutes, obviously they're going to be confused. You're trying to condense like 200 hours of story in 30 minutes. Like, it's a no-brainer, but I too bad Luck had to leave here for a second, but, like, I'm having him play the games, and he's having no problem keeping up with what's going on. Just play the fucking games. Don't try and understand stories by, like, reading wiki entries and watching recap videos.
this is, like, all through, like, 4 hours of animation. There's so much going on. So many moving parts, so many characters, each with their own implied full stories. And while it's hardly a bad thing to have a world and characters so complex, it's overwhelming unless you're willing to really sit with it for a long while, maybe even rewatching it multiple times like I did. And even then, some of it happens so quickly, no amount of familiarity can make it satisfying. Take Carmilla Carmine, the example of this in my opinion. In case I was going too fast for you earlier, at the end of episode 1, it's revealed that an angel was killed in hell, and ooh, what's that? A cool mystery? Who could have possibly done such? This random lady we met around halfway through the next episode, she did it. We meet her, and then 5 minutes later, we find out she did it. Just... Of course, she has her little cameo in the pilot. Of course she has a whole implied backstory, these daughters and all these relationships with other characters. It's moments like these where I gain sympathy for people who are very harsh on this show, because it's so clear that this character had existed in the mind of the creator for a long time, that they were made with the intention of being the sinner that managed to take down a demon with all these deep character motivations to boot. And then that character is just kind of implemented into the show without any real regard for pacing, audience satisfaction, or even the bare minimum rules of writing.
I will say, and I'll hold to this, I like Carmilla Carmine as a character and as a concept. What I don't like is that it just kind of feels like it was written backwards. Yeah, it kind of feels like they had this... Maybe backwards isn't even the right word for it. Again, it just feels like this character existed in the mind of the writer for years. Yeah, and then then the plot comes around, and then rather than like putting together a storyline appropriate for the mystery plot that they've set up, they instead try and retrofit this old concept that they put in there, and it just all feels quite off. Yeah, you know, I don't know. I like her as a character. I like the concept behind her. I do kind of wish they just made someone else be the one that killed the angel and that it was like revealed later. Yeah, you know, like maybe I put Alistair or like Lucifer as potential examples. Vaggie also would have been probably infinitely more interesting. It's just anyone, just anyone aside from just some random woman you're gonna introduce in the same episode. You're gonna make the reveal.
She just seems to be here because the writer liked her and was attached to her. In another version of this series, one where they got the full 13-episode season, I can imagine them introducing her in episode 2, and then holding off the reveal, allowing us some bare minimum time to get to know this ostensibly brand new character. But they didn't get 13 episodes, did they? They got 8. And with 8, it probably would have made more sense to just have Alistair or Lucifer be the one that actually killed the angel, and then allow that reveal to raise interesting questions about these much more central, well-established characters. The characters the show actually has time to linger on for more than a musical number or two.
I think it also doesn't help that Carmilla has like 2 of the worst musical numbers in the series, like just 2 of like the weakest ones. Which is shocking considering that like one of them is a duet with Vaggie, and her voice actress was like played the main character from Encanto. She's a great singer, but somehow just the song they gave her just does not play to any of her strengths. It's like there's a lot of layered issues going on with her, a lot of carelessness that happened with how she was introduced.
But here's where I play devil's advocate. The reveal isn't good. God, no, is it not good? Kill your darlings is generally good advice. It's also not the easiest advice to follow. I am deeply sympathetic towards artists who actually do want to keep their darlings, who are attached to the art they make. And I instinctually want to reject this corporate mindset that forces artists to be comfortable with compromising their vision for the sake of penny pinching producers. If you don't instinctually
I'll say, so I think there's like two different levels to kill your darlings. Yeah, I think there's the level that should be followed, which is this idea that like, yeah, it's good not to get overly attached to something. You know, you don't want to be polishing a turd, right? If you have an idea that's just bad, it just doesn't work. You know, you need to put aside your ego and just try and do something else. Yeah. I don't like this idea though that, you know, because some money man came in and said that, you know, we actually only have X amount of budget, you can't do that thing you wanted to do something else instead. Yeah, that's shitty. That's the shitty side of it in my opinion. I think it's good to separate those two ideas because I feel like I almost imply here that kill your darlings is, you know, like I say it's good advice, but then later on almost imply that it's not. Or that it's okay not to follow it. I was like, no. The core of what it's saying is good. There's just a dark, unfortunate side to it that I think that I would be happy for that to absolutely fucking die. Yeah.
Truly understand what I'm saying here, let me do a bit of reframing. Let's say you, I don't know, have this story about a hotel in hell that you've been working on since high school, and it means a lot to you. Like you have put little pieces of yourself into some of these characters.
That was the other thing I was trying to think of. A lot of times, you know, to be a good artist, a lot of the times is to put like parts of yourself into the things that you make. You know, to put little bits of your soul, bits of your personality into characters that you write, into pieces that you make. You know, to make things deep. You know, when you make things that are deeply personal, that's how you make things that are going to be more likely to actually reach other people. And that's, you know, it's like the purpose of art, you know, far before any commercial purpose that it may have. So but the thing is that, you know, if to be a good artist is to make things that are so deeply personal and to put parts of yourself into your piece and your process, then suddenly the advice kill your darlings is a much like bigger ask than it maybe would be otherwise. You know, if you're just doing something for the sake of a job and you're told to change something, then that's probably like, it's like fine. Yeah, you're not going to think about it that much. You know, this is the 50th drawing you've had to do this week for this thing. Who cares if the money man said replace it with something else because this tested well. But like, again, if it's something personal, it's something that you've actually like worked on in your own time, that you've put yourself into, that's gonna be a lot harder. And it's good that that's harder. That's good. You shouldn't be able to just drop something like that, you know.
I've made this thing that truly reflects not only your many interests, but you as a person. Think of how frustrating it would be to find out that the one chance you get at speaking that story into existence is, oops, subject to the capricious whims of capitalism. And now you have to choose between telling it the way you want and radically changing it for the sake of a concept as nebulous as pacing. These characters, they've lived in your head, in your sketchbook, in your desktop folders for years. They're real. Pacing, that's just some critic bullshit they made up. If I can't tell this story as it was intended, I will die. Of course.
I mean that the ego death sense, of course, but still.
Art you make must exist in this reality, assuming you want to eat, anyway. I think this is why people call Hazbin Hotel fanficky sometimes. Fanfiction tends to be really indulgent. You don't have publishers, page constraints, financial obligations. It's just you and a Google Doc. So most fanfiction writers tend to just stuff their stories with everything that they like and want to see. And while work like that can be very enjoyable, even great, well, a lot of it is quite bad in a way that's sometimes uncomfortable. Because not only is it bad, it feels revealing. You just sat there, reading a person pour their soul onto a page, and their soul? Kinda cringe. But when it's good, to take it to a realm that non-fanfiction readers may understand a bit better, what's the difference between an auteur and an amateur? Like in the realm of...
The bit that I didn't say, I was very tempted to say the old the old internet adage auteur or autist. I almost said that. I held myself back because I figured that'd be a little much even for me. But that's kind of the core of what I'm getting at here. Right? Like amateur is how I say it, but what I mean is autist, really. Someone that is like truly like obsessed with and that is truly obsessed with all the tiny details and paying homage to all their favorite things, and who is there not only to pour their cringe soul out but also to like replicate all the things they like and as in as exacting details they are capable of.
Film. What's the difference between the middle-aged comedian self-funding a weird kung fu flick and the young man self-funding a sequel to his weird sci-fi B-movie? Well, both of these made history in their own ways. Both of these may be in my...
Obviously calling Empire Strikes Back some auteur piece of film or even independent filmmaking is a bit of a stretch. I believe George Lucas did actually fund a decent amount of it out of his own pocket due to studio issues. But that was mostly just for the Star Wars link, honestly.
Personal top 10 favorite movies of all time, but only one of them is considered good by most people. A fun fact, I have a Blu-ray copy of one of these films, and it's not The Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, so I did a bit of trickery here. So when I referred to Rudy Ray Moore's kung fu flick, I'm referring to Dolomite specifically. But this is actually a clip from Petey Wheatstraw, and I mostly include this clip because I like the clip so much. I guess I was just like, well, out of all the viewers, who's actually going to have seen both of these films to actually know that for a fact? Probably no one. I can get away with it, but I need you to understand that I know that Petey Wheatstraw is not the kung fu flick that I refer to. Petey Wheatstraw doesn't have has a bit of kung fu, but
To be clear, I have nothing but the utmost respect and love for Rudy Ray Moore. May he rest in power. When you put everything into a work of art,
I would
power.
actually Eat Out More Often, a comedy album. Rudy Ray Moore's great. Love that guy.
When you put everything into
We lost a
work of
legend.
art, even your very soul, when you are allowed to do so, you sometimes have to contend with the fact that some people will not only not like it, but will judge you personally for it very harshly. And also, yes, there is the chance that you will make history. If only because it's impossible to make art with that level of honesty and not have it hit some people in a very particular way, even if that way was unintended. Though, to me at least, it's clear that Hazbin Hotel hit plenty of people in exactly the way it was intended. Plenty of people seem to get it just fine. And plenty others saw the raw honesty on display, saw the series that wears its influences on its sleeves, and felt it was kind of cringe.
I'm gonna take a slight break to refill water. We've been going for like 2 hours. Damn. Like 5-minute break? Probably less, honestly. I'll just be right back. Okay, checked in on luck. Had to be somewhere for a second there. Might be back by the time we're done, maybe not. But we got like what 20 minutes left of the video left to watch. Take us what 40 real life minutes at the pace we're going. Let's go.
Here's a fun plot twist. I actually like Carmilla Carmine. I like her weird top-heavy design. I like her knife ballerina shoes. I like her vibe, her presence, her relationship with Vaggie. I see her and I wish to know more about her. I hear the reveal that she killed the angel and roll my eyes, while also being successfully drawn into the oeuvre of this very powerful random lady. And I find myself in this odd position where I feel as though the cartoon has failed at a key writing moment, while also completely successfully doing everything it intended to do. So, what is the difference between an amateur and an auteur? Because
which, like, okay, so yeah, as far as what it intended to do, obviously just, introduce this funny lady and tug at your heartstrings a little bit. I think it does that pretty well. Again, I like Carmilla Carmine, actually, despite all the criticism I just slung.
Thing good is far too nebulous of a difference for me. Subjective, but pretending to be objective. Awful. I hate it. Let's double down. Make it purely subjective. The difference is really just, does the art you're seeing shake your soul? Do you aesthetically fuck with it? Can you look at it and say confidently, yeah, that's art. That's what I'm looking at. To me, that's basically how you answer the question of, will you like Hazbin Hotel or not? When watching the first 5 seconds of the show, do you feel seen or do you feel like you're going to throw up from all this furry nonsense? Well, once I got over my furry disgust response as a person, I realized that I felt kind of seen. And it was then, that realization, that made everything, the reactions to this show, the perceived demographic stratification of those who loved it and those who hated it. It all made sense.
I do say perceived. I did even have some people in the comments saying, well, it's like, well, that must be why people who are so young seem to... No, I don't think it's actually as drawn across age lines as what people think, in the same way that, like, I don't know, a lot of internet arguments, for some reason, people try and draw the different sides along age lines, and I think that's a lot less the case than what you might expect. I think the reason why people do this is because they like to perceive one side as being inherently more immature. Or being maybe kind of ageist back and saying, well, it's just a bunch of old people on the other side, that kind of thing. I think the age lines between has-been haters and has-been lovers or whatever is all just perception for the most part. I think it's all about the same demographic on both sides, if we're being completely honest.
Literally, I kid you not, goes back to how keen your sense of cringe is. If you do not experience cringe, if you've never experienced cringe, or if cringe is a daily occurrence to you, if you are cringe and accept this about yourself. I view myself as the latter, but I knew the hesitation that laid in my heart. I knew that while I wanted to view myself as above such petty concepts,
like the fucking Genshin Impact battle
enough.
Music.
Not yet.
Perfect. This is perfect.
Unless
the vibes here, immaculate.
Wait a second. I literally kin Alistair, and none of you can stop me.
Do you appreciate my Alistair cosplay that I have here? I hope you appreciate the Alistair cosplay I drew this character in. I went through all this effort of making this new sprite for this.
Twink needs to get out of my head. There are enough Twinks up there.
Got Kaleem Al-Asim, got Nightwing, got Sanji. That's about the triad of fictional men that are currently stuck in my little brain.
These broke bitches need to start paying rent. There's no more room.
If I was drawing that right this second, I probably would have also thrown in Boot Hill from Honkai Star Rail.
Problems with Alistair are many. He is, according to the lore, a biracial black man from the 1920s, and you would understand none of that by looking at his design. And considering I am actually a biracial black person, I'm not thrilled with that. He is also wearing the same stupid goddamn Victorian-inspired suit that, like, every other male character in the show wears, regardless of what era they're actually from. And considering my love of historical fashion, I'm double not thrilled with that. He is a
Show you my big ass book of historical fashion that I got in my I got in my shelf. It's great. It's a great little resource.
Pile of deviant
Check that
art
from
nonsense, from his awful
some
fucking
bookstore
haircut
somewhere.
to his horrible
Like some
fingerless
gift shop.
gloves to that little bow tie that I wish were long enough for me to hate. I also adore him, in case that wasn't clear. A lot of it has to do with the character archetype that he fills. That black butler, dapper gentleman who also happens to be a homicidal maniac. That archetype that's technically been around since literal Victorian times when the Jack the Ripper case captured the public consciousness. This character archetype, in my opinion, fucks. I also like that he's asexual, and how that's treated like the most normal thing about him. And I don't know, you have this character that's this archetype that I really like, that's also like me in that he's half black and asexual, and yeah, of course I'm going to kind of love him, even as I find flaw with the way he's portrayed, both in those identities and in general sometimes. Because, like, what is up with his powers, right? They look cool, but we never really get a good grasp on what he can or can't do in the story. And they hype him up so much only for him to get Worf affected at the end, and like, fuck. I'm not mad that you nerfed him. I'm mad that you weren't consistent about it in the service of more visual noise in this already very indulgent series, but anyway.
So this is actually one of the little takes here that I considered actually either toning down or removing during the editing process, because I was rewatching a couple shows, stuff like Moomin, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where I guess it like reoccurred to me through watching those shows where it's like they really aren't all that terribly consistent, especially JoJo's in the early period as far as how they portray or how they power scale or whatever. And I'm glad I go by this point quickly, because I think more and more they're in the wikification of art. That was a great video that I had seen. I need to actually open that one up. Maybe I'll actually sit down and watch it tonight. But the idea that for a they did it for a power set to be good or to make internal sense, it needs to conform to a power scaler's idea of like what good writing is. I put that in quotes, good writing, is like kind of ridiculous. I don't know. Not everything has to be super concrete for it to like texturally make sense to the audience or for it to be considered like good, like not everything's shown in anime. And even then I brought up an example of shown in anime, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Just like, it's art, right? It doesn't have to be completely consistent and completely logical. You can kind of just understand something from an artistic sense. Yeah. I don't know. They don't. I disavow. I was saying some bullshit here. You don't need to be able to power scale Alistair for his powers to like work in context.
He is a character that lives in dualities in a way that I think is really cool. Gentleman, murderer. Contractor, contracted. Predator, prey. I am mostly uninvolved with the Hazbin fandom, with the exception of fanfictions and discussions pertaining to this little freak. Every time he gets into a fight, it's cool. Every time he has a song, transcendent. Every time he's making a stupid fucking expression or quip, amazing. Screenshot, record clip. I rotate him in my mind like a little 3D rendered JPEG. I doodle him in the corners of my notebook like I'm Vivzy
That 5-second spinny
tape him in
animation.
my mind like a little
That took me should took me 30 minutes to figure out how to do. I almost crashed my computer when I tried to do it the first time.
3D rendered JPEG. I doodle him in the corners of my notebook like I'm
You
Bibsy
better
Pop in high
appreciate
school.
that.
I'm listening to my Spotify playlist dreaming
wasn't-
of hyper specific
That wasn't just a preset. I had to like do that by hand. I had to do that. I had to like code that into DaVinci Resolve.
AMVs of this man. I could spend easy 30 minutes just talking about my theories and interpretations of his character, like how I think his instant pissing contest that he initiates with Lucifer is indicative of the fact that he's this deeply insecure man who only feels safe when he knows he's the strongest one in the room, or how his insistence on keeping up appearances could be learned behavior from his black upbringing. If you know, you know. I could spend an hour talking about his song with Vox and how interesting all that is, because it implies a lot of history that I assume we'll get to know in the next season, and
I gotta send a message of who's really in charge of things now.
the sequence is just, as a whole,
Oh yeah, I wanted to actually put in more audio from Stayed Gone, but you know, YouTube copyright. The first cut had a little bit more audio, especially around the Alistair part. Had to cut it down significantly for the sake of getting it past the filters. It is what it is.
incredibly interesting, and I think it gets a bad rap. We lead into the song with a long introduction of
I didn't have much
the
of it
Venus,
either
the
originally. It was like
trio
what,
of
10
Overlord
seconds.
upstarts, including
It's
Valentino.
5 seconds too many,
Angel's
apparently.
abusive boss, keep up. Velvet. That girl that had the duet with Carmela, you know the one. And Vox, a demon implied to have been friends with Alistair at one point that fucking hates him now. But these three aren't exactly Batman villain level threats. We're introduced to them as petty, angry, kind of stupid assholes, threats only based off the demonstrable power they hold, who, outside of Valentino in a later scene, never managed to be anything approaching intimidating. And Vox starts off a song to trash Alistair.
That's season 1. We'll see. We'll see where season 2.
Disappeared for 7 years before the start of the show. Stay with me, and he's
I'm looking forward to. I'm looking forward to season 2. If maybe they'll prove me wrong and actually make Vox legitimately intimidating at times, or if it's going to be more petty bullshit. Either of those would make me really, really happy. So
pathetic. He spends one verse talking about Alistair like he's his bitch of an ex-wife. A concept I'm sure Vox has a lot of experience with.
what I'm saying is, I'm accusing Vox of being a man who's probably been divorced many times. I believe that firmly.
And then immediately loses the rap battle and gets fucking upstaged. What was supposed to be Vox's villain song, in which he mostly came across as pathetic, turns into Alistair's villain song, and he comes across as genuinely terrifying, a real threat whose motivations we do not understand.
Oh, this will be fun.
And he's supposed to be one of the protagonists. We are reminded very early on that despite
like getting
how
in that
affable
little
he may
terrified
seem,
Vox
we
face.
do not know what his deal is.
Great,
And
he's so
depending
pathetic, I
on
love him.
How future storylines go, he could in fact be the biggest threat that our protagonists would never see coming. And that's interesting, right? That's playing around with tropes and expectations.
Really need to get myself an I Heart Pathetic Men t-shirt. I've seen a few of those around. I should. I ought to get one.
Establishing little mysteries and intrigue very quickly without drawing too much attention
For
to
the sake
them.
of wrapping shit
Utilizing
up
the
soon,
musical
I
format
might
in
just
incredibly effective
speak
ways.
over this more
It's
than
kind of
pausing
perfect.
as we go on forward.
He's kind of perfect. He's horrible.
Unless I really need
love
to.
Him. Someone please take him away from me. Okay, I want to continue gushing about this show. I want to just yap about all the things I love about it. I want to talk about the myriad ways in which it lovingly portrays a lot of Tumblr culture. I want to give a moment-by-moment rundown of every single influence that went into it.
Okay, that little Tumblr scroll was courtesy of the Wayback Machine, by the way.
To be honest, the main thing holding me back from doing that, the influences discussion, not that you get the idea, is that TB Skyen did that perfectly in his video, The Character Design of Hazbin Hotel. And I would basically just be copying him if I tried. I like the video so much. I want to put in a whole section just defending the controversial episode Masquerade, but hey, what's stopping me from doing that one? Oh,
AO3 reference,
Oh.
ha 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 ha. Referencing AO3 culture.
Episode 4 is maybe my favorite episode of Hazbin Hotel Season 1, and that's a pretty controversial statement. If there was ever an episode to split the antis and the fans, it's this one.
Oh yeah, so this I say my little me editing and chopping around Masquerade, and especially the Poison musical number. So I put all the content warnings up, but I was actually still pretty careful as far as cutting around any imagery that I thought was too distressing, or just anything that I thought like YouTube wouldn't take kindly to, because there is obviously like nothing super explicit, but there is a lot of like implication there. So yeah, I tried to be careful about that for multiple reasons. One, just the not so off chance that someone just ignores all of my warnings and tries and just continues on anyway, as well as just not wanting to surprise anyone that doesn't know what they're in for. I don't know, I think this is all pretty distressing subject matter. I don't want to, in my YouTube video funny essay, like genuinely trigger anyone, nor do I don't know, nor do I want to include anything more distressing than what needs to be for just this like bare bones discussion of it,
This is absolutely
But I still do
a
think
love
the
it
actual
or hate
original
it kind of
sequence is
episode, and that
very
has
good.
everything to do with the heavy subject matter it portrays. If you are uncomfortable discussing these, then please skip to the conclusion of this video, timestamped for your convenience. And maybe disregard my earlier kind of recommendation. Engage with this subject matter when you are in a headspace to do so, and not a moment before. We good? Okay. In case you don't know, Angel Dust is a porn star in an abusive relationship with his pimp/boss, Valentino. He sold his soul to Val and has a pretty complicated relationship with both sex work and his own body. He seems to take some pride in his work, yes, but it is also very clear that a good amount of his work is coercive in nature. He is a character who experiences and expresses a lot of self-blame, and all of this and these elements come together in his musical number Poison. An 80s style pop dance number in which images of the titillating and horrifying blend together in a way that one must imagine is indicative of Angel Dust's entire life. But in between the pop musical choice, the glitz and glamour of the stage, and the fact that yes, you are supposed to find some of these images titillating, many people accuse it of glorifying or glamorizing his situation, and by extension, sexual assault and violence in general. It is my view that this is a very uncharitable read of the situation, ignoring much of the text and subtext present, as well as being ignorant of the realities of show business and sex work.
I think the main thing, and I bring up the Linda Lovelace angle later there, as well as the Kesha angle, and it's really a thing of like, I think it's a little naive almost to assume that these women, even in these horrible situations, that there wasn't ever a time that they were like partying or experiencing the glamour or even having fun, and that doesn't necessarily like reduce the fact that they were victims and survivors. Yeah, like again, it goes back to the whole perfect victim thing. It's like I think that if we don't like allow any sort of gray area in this, if we say that it has to all be portrayed as all like I don't know, if I go too much further in it, I will actually have to bring up some personal stuff that I would rather not, at least not right this second. But yeah, it's just, I don't know, abuse is rarely just a thing of like all negativity all the time. If it was, people wouldn't find themselves trapped or tricked into these kinds of relationships, oftentimes much more complicated than all that in ways that can look messy to an outsider. Yeah.
And yes, I'm trying very hard to be firm yet measured in my response, because this song's biggest defenders and biggest haters tend to come from a place of hurt. People who have been traumatized, who either get exactly what it's trying to get across and very much relate to it, and people who have been
I guess to clarify my point here, because I thought of a better way to put it. Like, yes, Kesha did actually party and did have some fun. No, that does not reduce the horrors that she went through. And being able to accept those two things in harmony with each other will help you actually be like, not only understand abuse better, but be a better ally to the abused. That I think that's probably the best way I could put it.
traumatized who find it, frankly, a bit disgusting. I'm going to say something that is hopefully non-controversial. No two experiences of trauma are exactly alike, both in how they happen, as well as how the person copes afterwards, as well as where exactly on their recovery journey they find themselves at that particular time. And now I'm going to elaborate. No one depiction of trauma will make every traumatized person happy. And in fact, a depiction very honest to one person's experience may in fact make a lot of other traumatized people very upset. This does not mean it was done poorly, nor does it mean that the upset people are stupid for feeling upset. What I think
Now I'm thinking of like brilliant thesis statements that I could have used to drag all this in, because that all really all ties back into the initial thing that I was saying, yeah, that just like different people will just have different reactions to the same piece of media, and that's fine, right? Like, I think really the main thesis statement of this is just the fact that art is like a messy emotional experience, both in making it and in viewing it, and that to say, and to try and logic your way through it is really going about it all wrong. And to try and pretend that there's like one unifying take on everything, that there's no room for other perspectives, or other good old freaks coming in and saying, wait, no, actually this is exactly speaking to me directly, specifically, that's like denying yourself a bit of the wide range of human experience. I don't know. I guess what I'm saying is, it's fine if you didn't react to this very well, but to then try and say that anyone who likes it is like, just being fetishizers is not great.
I think they are, and please do not take this out of context, is perhaps a bit misguided in assuming that their own bad reaction to the media means that the thing is inherently harmful. Disclaimer, I'm mostly writing this as an observer. Whether I personally relate to Angel Dust's trauma isn't really your business, in my opinion. If you think that I need to publicly recount at least one serious life event to prove I am qualified to speak on this topic, or that anyone else needs to do so in order to write something like that into their story, you can go fuck yourself. What business do you or anyone on the internet have demanding that strangers recount horrific real-life events to you to make you feel better about the ethics of a cartoon you're watching? Okay, got a little heated there. Let's recenter. Take a deep breath with me. 5 in. 3 out. Let's continue. The musical number.
I think I should put breathing exercises whenever I have a controversial bit in a video. Honestly, great idea. I'm just gonna continue doing that forever. I think if I ever have a bit that I think is like gonna trigger some tempers, just put in a breathing exercise. Everyone just do some breathing with me. We'll get through this.
As well as the scene leading up to it is chilling.
Might make the world a better place, unironically.
Before this point, we as the audience have gotten hints of Angel Dust's issues with his boss, mostly through that one voicemail scene where we get to watch Angel Dust listening to Valentino love bomb and then verbally abuse him in rapid succession, and in a way that feels pretty real if you've ever had a Valentino in your life. We see Valentino in the lead up to Stayed Gone and see just how mad he is, but he mostly comes across as a bit pathetic. Then we see him with Angel in the studio, and the tone changes. He's imposing. His anger is no longer funny now that he's near people who can't do anything about it. He's physically violent, and yeah, let me praise the framing of this scene. The way that Angel, a pretty tall character, always seems so small, boxed in and trapped constantly by Val's imposing
That's the
presence.
darkest
The way
frames
Val is
I
drawn,
put into that.
especially in reflection. Every moment
The
of
most I
Angel's
was willing to
terror is
push it.
felt, and that transitions smoothly into the Poison musical number. We see the black eye Angel got from Valentino moments earlier get wiped away with makeup, and with a smile, he's ready for the stage. And as images flash on screen, a mix of titillating and horrifying, we get a good grasp on Angel's life, the glitz and glamour of a celebrity juxtaposed with an undercurrent of tragedy. Angel is addicted to the poison, craves it, while fully knowing it will kill him one day. There are a number of real-life celebrity stories that reflect this. Linda Lovelace is one that comes to mind, the star of the most well-known...
I'm shocked I got away with putting that in my YouTube video, that didn't get flagged and age restricted, talking about Deep Throat and actually saying the title by name.
porn film in the US, Deep Throat. The closest
But it
to a
was
film
it
star
was
a porn
necessary.
actress has
It
ever
was
gotten,
prescient.
who in later years was very open about the exploitation and abuse she suffered.
I will say Linda Lovelace is kind of a controversial figure. I think it is really interesting to see and hear about her story, but she is also definitely into some kind of weird evangelical nonsense nowadays that I don't really approve of. So, yeah, she's complicated. What can I say? But her story is genuinely interesting.
Kesha is maybe a more relevant example, however, as she has been tied to this franchise for a long while, before her direct involvement with it through the role of Queen Bee in Hell of a Boss, even. The abuse she had faced at the hands of producer Dr. Luke feels like a direct parallel to Angel and Val's relationship, and perhaps clarifies the choice to have Poison be a pop number. Kesha is a pop star, after all, and while Poison is more 1980s than 2010s, the choice in genre and tempo still feel intentional. I don't know about you, but I love listening to Die Young, even though it's harder to hear without thinking of praying. And I kind of
Another
appreciate
tidbit that I
someone
was worried of putting in
genius
there,
enough
but
to make a song
that one was
that's
fine.
basically a cross of the two.
Listen to
The side
praying.
of
Listen to praying. Just always just do it. Just do it. If you go to your music app of choice, load it up, get ready to listen to it the second that I'm done talking here, which will be pretty soon, like 10 minutes.
Young, we didn't hear. I also kind of appreciate that Angel Dust as a character exists at all. He's not my favorite. That title still belongs to Alistair, but to have a male, feminine-presenting character, a sex worker that can both take pride in their work while also showing some of the reality of exploitation, a male who is a sexual assault victim at all in a cartoon that was popular, is kind of amazing. Every now and again,
That was my
I'll come
Angel
across
Dust
people who think
appreciation
Hazbin
post.
Hotel
Hope
is
you enjoyed
bad,
it.
but appreciate what it did for animation. And I'm gonna say it, you aren't appreciating it enough for all of the really big swings it makes, for all of the good it has done for the culture that goes beyond just an indie animation show that was successful, I guess. I mean, what a backhanded compliment. As if the show isn't revolutionary in its own right. As if history won't look as poorly on aunties of this show as it has aunties of Steven Universe, or any other queer show that swung for the fucking fences. That being said, Hazbin Hotel is not perfect. It has its issues and is incredibly indulgent, something that can be a double-edged sword for sure. As outlined by TB Skyen in his video, The Character Design of Hazbin Hotel,
I cited him
the
twice.
thing with indulgent shows like
Stop
this
me.
is that there's always the possibility that the indulgence will, in the end, not amount to anything. That all the little details were just artistic noise, and that if you are a fan paying attention, you are in fact wasting your time. And while, if anything, this video is a tacit endorsement of these little details, of your ability as an audience member to hyperfixate and analyze all that indulgence, regardless of whether it amounts to anything or not, I find myself thinking back to my friend who likes the prequels. Is Hazbin just visual noise? Is it just basic surface level themes about classism and a world too confused, too overstuffed to really be able to get it across well? Is it not the sum of its parts? Is it bad, actually? I think I've come to the end of this discussion with myself and found that, for the most part, I do not care about the answers to these questions. Has been just visual noise. Well, visually it's very noisy, but so is Decora fashion, and I love that shit. Is it just
I'm gonna let the
themes
I'm gonna let the
and
conclusion
junk?
play out, and then I'll give my
I mean,
final
the themes
words. I
present
think.
aren't exactly groundbreaking, nor does it have time to dig into it. But maybe they will in season 2, and then maybe I can talk about it, and you'll all feel very silly for waving that around like some huge gotcha. Is the world overstuffed? I mean, yeah, but all the better to fanfic about, my dear. Is it lesser or greater than the sum of its parts? Well, it is its parts. It is nothing if not all these disparate parts and elements and flourishes. It is all these different things that are there solely because the artist likes them. And if you are willing to sit down and have a conversation with the artist, metaphorically, still not telling you to slide into Vivzi's DMs here, about all those little bits and bobs, you risk the chance of having a seriously good time. And is it bad? I don't know. Taste is subjective. I liked it. I told you like a lot of reasons why I liked it. And I remain kind of skeptical that a judgment so extreme can even be made about a show that isn't finished yet. What I do know is that Hazbin Hotel is cringe. And so am I.
That's the end. That's the end. I'll say it all turned out pretty well. There are a few stray frames here and there, but overall I think the editing is significantly better than what I had going on in like some earlier videos. I'm glad to see actual improvement as I'm going forward, and yeah. I gotta keep my eye on some of those stray frames, especially since I'm working with I export a lot of the and maybe I should consider not doing that, but I export all of my all those talking head bits as GIFs. Just for the sake of like just for the sake of convenience, honestly. And it might take a little bit longer, but importing them as separate PNGs and then doing the animation bit in DaVinci Resolve might result in less errors. We'll see. But yeah, I mean, like a couple issues. There was like one, the like initial Angel Dust clip was meant to have that little TV frame around it. That's my little anti-copyright Vox Tech television that I had going on for here. Whatever. If I have to do anti-copyright measures for these videos, I might as well actually put some thought and creativity into some of them rather than just flipping it over and putting on horrible fucking rainbow filters on everything. You know, might as well. The goal of these is to be somewhat visually cohesive at least. But yeah, it all turned out really well. And I've enjoyed well, this is basically the first time I've watched through it since I exported the dang thing. So, I mean, aside from just listening to bits and bobs of it to make sure that everything was, you know, okay, re-editing some parts, going back and forth and editing the audio a lot. But yeah, I think it all turned out really good. And, I thank y'all for stopping by, for the silly little reaction. I'm gonna be back tomorrow with the next Soma stream. Streamtober is only halfway through. Like I said, a one stream at least every single day for the entire month of October. So you'll be hearing from me a lot. Stop by whenever, same time as always. 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. And also Pacific Standard Time, also the same. Yeah. And I think if you're seeing this as a VOD, I'll probably link the VOD on my main channel. But that'll be a week later, obviously, than I usually do my VODs a week after the actual stream happens. So if you find out about Streamtober then, you'll still have a little ways left to go with it. You'll still be able to enjoy my presence for another week and a half before I go to my usual once a week streaming schedule. But yeah, gosh, Streamtober's like halfway through, but I'm already quite tired, I must say. I'm starting to slow down, but at least the mental boost of seeing this video do pretty well is helping. In fact, even do a little refresh and see here, but it's continued to do. Yeah, 2K now. What can I say? Continue to do pretty good, and I have high hopes for it. So yeah, any subs that have come recently, thank you very much. But I will see you tomorrow for some spooky games, for some Sunday scaries. Have a very good night. Good night.